I laughed when I saw that. You just kind of smile and go, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah. It's a fake wager anyway, but my goodness. Morning, Paul, EB. Baby Jules. No Sanders. Yep. It's nice, Paula, isn't it? You can get used to drafting after 11 o'clock, can't you? Adam thought of you immediately.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this final Friday of April. We are in between rounds 1 and 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. Did you like what your team did last night? How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Curious how late did everybody stay up? So, I mean, you know, it wasn't like a double, triple overtime hockey playoff game, but I mean, you pretty much had to commit to midnight. You know, if you were going to take in the draft. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm good. The draft, I thought, was interesting because obviously something dramatic happened early and then no trades for 3 hours and some surprising selections along the way. And then you had the Shedeur Sanders drama along the way. I do think that your level of enjoyment depended on what network you were watching, though. Because from what I could tell on social media, people do not like Greeny doing the draft. And I guess the Mel Kiper, Shedeur Sanders drinking game last night was unstoppable. Apparently, by the time you got to the teens, you couldn't function the rest of the night. That he talked about Shedeur Sanders the whole damn night.
A strange thing happened in my house last night. My wife had a work meeting last night at 5 o'clock, and it was about a 45-minute drive from the house. So she didn't get back until, 7:30. At that point, I have Panthers Lightning on TV1.
Right.
I have Pistons Knicks on TV 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the draft on TV 3, which hasn't started yet. But just,
Right.
it's on, I'm ready.
Right.
My wife comes in, and we start watching everything. And I'm into the hockey. I mean, it's a 1-0 game. It's only the damn season for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Correct.
And the draft starts. And she starts grilling me on the draft.
Grilling?
So who are they going to take? Who's going to go first? Was that a good pick? What do you think about that pick? And I am like, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers are on. I do not have time to explain why Will Levis sucks and Tennessee's going to draft Cam Ward right now. Go get the Hellmans and I'll talk to you in a minute. So she says to me, she goes, do you need the volume of the hockey game on? Yes. As a matter of fact, I do. I don't need to hear them talk about these 4 players because I had listened to a little bit of NFL radio during the day, and all of a sudden, as the day progressed, if you were watching any television, if you were paying attention to X, Jacksonville was looking to move up. It was
right.
It was made known by what? About I found out about 5 o'clock. I want to say.
Okay. Apparently, this deal was agreed upon over 2 weeks ago, and the specifics of the deal were not leaking out, but the fact that Jacksonville was jumpy started to come out around dinner time.
So I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in hearing what the compensation more than anything is for that, because that then tells you, it told you why there weren't going to be a lot of trades for the next couple hours, because the compensation that Jacksonville gave was ridiculous to me. For the record, I thought Jacksonville gave up way, way too much. He better put on a damn gold jacket or you made a bad trade. I'm telling you right now, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, and we'll certainly get into this in greater detail. 21,000 is the text line, the Twitch chat room, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. Want to hear from you. Here's the only thing I would say. Did they give up too much? Of course they did. But it's as if the Browns said to them, well, you're getting 2 players. You're getting a first-round pick who's a wide receiver, and you're getting a first-round pick who's a corner. So that's what you need to give us. And then you got to give us a little something for moving up 3 spots. And the Jags went, okay.
No doubt. And give Cleveland credit. When asked about Hunter for a while, they said it's Shohei Ohtani. They played a game of poker to perfection because everybody thought they had played their hand out, that they were going to take Hunter based on what they said, and they got Jacksonville to give up a king's ransom to go to 2. But neither here nor there. Back to watching the draft.
Right, whether you have the volume or not.
And so the Lightning get defeated 2-0.
Right.
And once the empty net goal goes in, I immediately starts reconfiguring the televisions. Hockey goes to TV 3. The draft goes to TV 1. The draft on ESPN with Greeny and company lasted on my television for about 4 minutes, tops. I could not handle it. I know they pay him a ton of money to not show up for many of the jobs that he's supposed to do there.
About $8 million.
But he's not my football guy. He doesn't sound like football to me. He doesn't act like football to me. And I ran as fast as I could to the NFL Network. And that's where I stayed for the rest of the night. And I thought they did a fine job. It was fine. I like Rich Eisen. I think Rich Eisen's a more than qualified host. And part of his radio show, I will go down a TikTok hole, and I happen to be watching interviews. I don't know when he did them, years ago with Kevin Pollak. And it's one of the best interviews you'll ever see of Kevin Pollak talking about Jack Nicholson and Surreal. Google it, Chuck. I'm telling you right now, it's unbelievable. But I can't do Greeny in football, David. So I went to the NFL Network. I was fine with it. A lot of people, what did ABC have the game day crew? Was that their?
Yes.
And a lot of people really loved Nick Saban. Nick Saban got great grades from the social media world, if you will.
Mm-hmm. All I know is Uncle Mel was a one-topic pony last night, Shedeur Sanders. And man, did he bang that drum. And because Shedeur Sanders is still available, he was banging it for 4 hours. You could not survive the Mel Kiper Shedeur Sanders drinking game last night. You couldn't. I did find parts of that entertaining. I flipped around, mostly NFL Network, because you and I do this for a living. We have our own mediocre commentary. We don't need to listen to others.
And that was going on. I will say the text lines were open between Miller and Moulton last night.
Yes. I mean, way to go, Jags. Let's get this party started.
Right.
So I am just going to throw this out there. It really sounds like they're going to try to play them both ways. It sounds like the Jags are going to try to do with Travis Hunter what the Dodgers did last year with Ohtani. Okay? They let him rip. Well, not last year because he didn't pitch, but what the Angels did with Ohtani. Okay? No, he's a star. He's going to hit 50 homers batting, and he's going to win 15 games and be an all-star caliber pitcher. And it sounds like they view him as a wide receiver first. It sounded to me like if they're going to save 20 snaps a game with him not on the field so that he's on the field for 100 snaps and not 120, it sounds to me, Mark, like most of those snaps are going to be on defense. That they want, Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, with their $55 million a year quarterback beginning next year, Trevor Lawrence. And when the owner came out and said, we've been really good about acquiring draft picks over the years, but we haven't acquired difference makers. He's a difference maker. Okay.
I'm telling you right now, this is a gold jacket or bust type pick. It really is. Because everybody that we've talked to and the people that I read and trust the most think that he's a corner first, not a wide receiver first.
Right. I will say, and I forget who the reporter was for the NFL Network. I saw him at around 6 o'clock. It was the first time I turned the TV on around 6:30, because the Panthers Lightning were starting at 6:30. And so I'm flipping around, and he said, I called 7 wide receiver coaches in the NFL yesterday. And I asked them all, where would he go in this draft as a wide receiver? And they all said, without question, he'd be the number 1 wide receiver. And I went, interesting. Now, is that an indictment of this year's wide receiver class? All right. Or is he a top 10 pick as a corner and a top 10 pick as a wide receiver? And the Jags are going to try to do something that they haven't done since the 50s and 60s. Go play a guy both ways. Okay.
And Pat Kirwan expected to join us at 8 o'clock this morning. The one thing that I heard him say yesterday is that, the offensive meeting starts at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, and the defensive meeting starts at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. You physically can't be in both places at the same time. So in addition to Travis Hunter's amazing athletic skill, and there is no denying just how damn good of an athlete this young man is. There's no denying it. He better be equally as intelligent. There's been nothing to prove that he's not a super smart kid, but he's going to have to be incredibly smart to be able to handle all of the classroom work that's involved with preparing for a game on each side of the ball. because this is not college. This is not the Big 12.
And I know we got to head to a break here, but the thing that concerns me is if you really intend to play him both ways, if he tweaks a hamstring and is out a month, then you've lost your number one corner and number two wide receiver, both for a month. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So, David,
Yes.
I think I did. Mike Green did not get drafted, right?
The
Marshall
Ed
Ed.
Busher? Right.
Yeah. He, according to The Athletic, that Dana Ball, whoever does this, and I don't have his name, he was his 10th overall prospect. I mean, there are 3 guys that are in his top 20 that didn't get drafted.
Well, I know
Edge
there's
from Marshall, the safety from South Carolina, Amanawari, and then Johnson, the corner from Michigan.
I thought Washington was going to take the South Carolina safety.
But what's interesting is that, we've done this about 4 of the last 5 years. We've done a draft show, or 3 out of the last 5, because a couple years ago we didn't do it either. Usually when I have this top 100 sheet, usually someone on the second column, someone between 51 and 100 gets taken in the first round. And you're like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? Dart was 49th. That was the, lowest rated player, if you will.
Right.
And then Donovan Jackson was 48, the tackle. Well, you were right on Zabel. He didn't last nearly as long as I thought he would.
The North Dakota State kid, yeah. I thought his flexibility.
No, you were right on that.
I thought his flexibility took him from like 28 to 18.
Pat was all over Josh Simmons to KC.
Also,
Roy and I were all over Ibuka to Tampa.
And Pat's been pounding the table for Kenneth Grant for a while, saying he thinks he's as good as Mason Graham.
So I'm driving to pick up Maddie from gymnastics. We leave at 8:18. So it's pretty early in the draft. Mason Graham is getting picked as I'm pulling into my house on the way home. And they're all raving. And one of them, I don't know who, says, his production was through the roof. And Pat goes, 8 career sacks. I'm just saying, you're talking about 8 career sacks.
Right.
And I mean, Pat leveled him on radio.
Yeah.
Leveled him.
Yeah. Pat just thinks he's a good player, not a great player.
I'll tell you what, I could have turned off the sound and put on their broadcast.
Yeah.
And enjoyed that far more than anything else that was out there.
I'm not a huge Neuheisel guy. I did a draft once with Neuheisel, and he talks a lot.
He does.
Okay. And the draft that I did with him, it was me, him, and one other guy. And on that draft show, it's a host and Pat and Jim and Rick. So there's less time to talk.
Yes.
So, I would pull Neuheisel aside and say, dude, you got to tighten this stuff up.
Look, he by many was the second best corner out there. If you're not going Will Johnson, you were going with the Texas corner. So they by all accounts, they got a really good player, Ambient. I know you wanted an offensive guy, but the running back pile is deep. They can get a running back in the second or third round.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ambient, though. Yeah, he's a good player. You already have arguably the best corner in the league. Okay, I would have taken an offensive player there.
And Adam, I was talking about Campbell, the D back for Michigan, not Campbell, the O lineman for LSU. Different position, but you are correct. He was the best lineman.
Well, we thought he was.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes after the hour, Pat Kirwan will join us 8 a.m. Eastern. Chris Perkins at the top of our bonus hour to talk the Dolphins, their first-round selection, and what they will do from here. They still have 9 more picks in the rest of the draft. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. I nominate this to be our poll question. Okay, I'm going to try to give you a 10-second break because you did 37 poll questions yesterday, so you might be tired.
I've already got one up. Put one up during the break.
Unbelievable.
But go ahead. What do you got? I'm ready for another one.
I was going to have people grade the Jags acquisition of Travis Hunter from the Jags perspective, because I think most everybody will give Cleveland very high marks. I can't imagine, maybe some people would go, I can't believe you passed on them. Okay. Okay. But I mean, they got 2 1s and a 2 to move down 3 spots. It's tough to criticize what the Browns did. By the way, sidebar, the point system that gets referred to, and they can go all the way back to Jimmy Johnson's point system. There's a more modern one. If you use the more modern point system, the Browns' point total from the picks that they acquired and where they're going to be, and that's with next year's first-round pick being middle of the pack, which right now is...
Come on, it's the Jags. It should be a top 10 pick.
Okay, so, they're trying to just go midstream. That apparently the Browns won the trade by a top 10 pick in the first round of the draft. That's how much Jacksonville overpaid, quote, on paper, unquote, to pull off what they did. But I was just asked, from the Jags' point of view, How do you think they did in acquiring Travis Hunter? Word it however you want. Obviously, you got to have an A and you got to have an F, and then you decide how many choices you want to have in between.
Well, I've only got 4. I can't put a 5th choice on there, so I can't put all of the grades. So I don't know. I can leave A off, but
Well, no, some people may really like it. Some
I was
people
having a little
may.
fun. I was having a
I
little
know.
fun, David. I was just having a little fun.
I mean, there's got to be one person out there that agrees with the Jags line of thinking that they acquired the best wide receiver in the draft and they acquired the best corner in the draft. They acquired 2 players who would have been taken in the top 10. That's the Jags argument. So giving up what we gave up, when you look at it, it makes sense. And the new GM came from the Rams, and quite frankly, the Rams gave away picks for 7 years. Picks, whatever.
So the Jags making the big splash, Travis Hunter going to Duval. How will it turn out for the Jags? I asked a very simple poll question.
Okay.
What we talked about off the hop. Which network did you watch the draft on last night?
Okay.
And if you watched on all 3, which was the primary network, then you watched, just come on now, don't fight with me this morning. But ESPN, ABC, NFL Network, and didn't watch. Because I am curious, I'm guessing with the hoop and the hockey on, there were a lot of people that probably said, I can follow the draft on my phone. I don't need to sit and watch every pick. So I'll get the Jacksonville question up here during the next break.
Okay.
And then I'll work on a 3rd and 4th poll question.
Was there a pick that you went, oh, I really like that? I really like that pick.
Well, I mean, yes, that I liked the fact that the Bears, who everybody had attached to Genty and moving up, and I thought they still may. I thought Cleveland was going to go from 2 to 5 and 5 to 10.
I'm with you. I thought they were going to be like, you know what? Let's acquire some picks.
Well, think about it. They're as analytical as any front office and how they do business. And I thought they were just going to load up. But both teams that drafted tight ends, I have a lot of respect for what they did. Chicago stayed at 10, added a great piece. They think that Loveland is better than Warren, and there are plenty of people out there that agree with them, by the way, that they think for the NFL that Loveland may be a better player. We'll see. They're both extremely talented tight ends. And here's Indianapolis. And I thought perhaps, David, that Indianapolis may have thought to jump up 1 spot or 2 spots because there were people that thought the Dolphins may take Warren. And with the Dolphins sitting there at 13, you thought maybe Denver might try to splash up and get Warren at that point and screw the Colts out of that pick. But here are the Colts who wanted a tight end, who wanted Warren. And they stayed at 14 and got him. So the 2 teams that picked tight ends, I really appreciate their patience in the draft, David. Those were 2 picks that I like. I love Campbell, the offensive lineman. New England got their guy to take care of Drake May. But those were a couple of the picks that I thought were great. And then, come on, you've got to look deep in the draft to find teams that just do things that seem right. And once again, the Philadelphia Eagles are the new Baltimore Ravens. For years, you and I raved about the Ravens, who would just sit there, and all of a sudden a great player would fall in their lap. That team is now the Philadelphia Eagles.
It sure is. It sure is. All right. And they were showing off last night. They were flat showing off last night. All right. You know what? We probably don't have to do this, but I'll just call Kansas City or offer them up, what, a 5th round pick? We got a bunch of picks. We got like 21 picks in the next 2 drafts. Let's just throw, don't you feel badly? We kicked the tar out of the Chiefs. Let's call Andy up and say, Andy, how's it going? Okay. Here, have a little something. We'll switch spots. Okay. We'll take who we want. You're not taking who we want. And, You can draft that offensive lineman from Ohio State who fell all the way to you. You got a hell of a deal there, and we'll give you a little something for the effort. I will say, first time all night that a team took a player one spot before I thought a team really wanted him was when Dallas took Booker, the guard from Alabama, at 12. And I thought to myself, that's who Miami wanted. Could have been wrong, but I thought to myself, that's who the Dolphins wanted right there. Cowboys go back to the offensive line well. Wow.
And smartly. Give the Cowboys credit. We bash them all of the time, and there are plenty of reasons to do that. They lost a Hall of Fame offensive lineman, or at least one that's going to get pretty damn close, and they replaced him. It was a position of need, and they filled the position of need. They need to protect their quarterback.
I was a little surprised that both Dallas and Miami couldn't get a little something out of the Colts to get the Colts to move up to take Tyler Warren. Everybody knew the Colts wanted one of the two tight ends. Now, the Niners had a lot of guys to replace along both lines. So the Niners moving down from 11 to 14, they could potentially lose a couple guys. But Dallas, I mean, all the possibilities for the Cowboys moving down from 12 to 14, especially when 12 is going to be Tyler Warren. Okay. The Dolphins just saying to the Colts, hey, we got offers on the line. I don't necessarily want to take them. Throw me something. Okay. And we'll just switch spots. Give me a little something for the effort. Okay. Because they knew they weren't going to take Tyler Warren. Obviously.
And Dallas trading, because you may be right on the Dolphins wanting Booker. So the Cowboys staying put, they might not have thought going to 14 they could still get their guy.
True.
There's a lot of people associating Booker with Miami, so I don't know if I would have made that move as well. What did you think of your team's draft? 21,000 is the text line. The starting five is next.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So I just have it as, what grade would you give the Jacksonville Jaguars for moving up to the second pick to take Travis Hunter?
Or you could just say for, drafting Travis Hunter. But yeah, whatever.
I just went A, B, C, and then D/F.
Okay. Matt, with the Braves moniker there, obviously you're an Atlanta sports fan, Homer. You think Atlanta had a good night? You think Atlanta didn't? I mean, that kid better be a stud. I thought you gave up a lot to draft him.
Pierce, you talking about the?
Yeah. I mean, he's available mid-20s. I mean, he's a pass rusher, available mid-20s. I mean, he can't be that great. He may be good. But
No, Tim, I think it is simply that Mike Evans is going to retire soon.
Yeah.
And they're replacing Evans is what I think. I don't think that has to do with Godwin. I think it has more to do with replacing Evans.
Yeah. I think
And that's why particularly a lot of people had the Arizona receiver going to them, because he's 6'4" and size-wise similar. So have you seen that Eisen Kevin Pollak when he tells the story about Jack Nicholson and Surreal?
Oh, yeah.
I had not seen that.
First off, the Pollock stories from that movie on Rich Eisen's show over the years. He always has a story he hasn't told before. And he can do the impression along with the story.
He kills Nicholson.
Yep.
I mean, he kills it.
Yep.
So I'm filming this movie called Chinatown. Wait, Jet. Because that's the point Pollock makes, that I'm a nobody when this movie's going on.
Right.
And so I'm banging his daughter, and I haven't told him yet. Dear God.
So Nicholson was offered the, I think the Al Pacino role in Godfather, but he chose Chinatown instead. And he said the movie interested me more. He said, I knew it was going to be a hit. Okay, it was a great script. He said, but Chinatown interested me more.
The other one I heard from, because what's his face? Dennis Leary on Eisen sent the draft day script to Belichick. And Belichick read it. And one of the things in draft day, when they put the money in the playbooks, Belichick goes, that was mine. I did that. And when Leary told the film people about it, they went, oh, they kind of laughed. They didn't know that, but they heard it from a guy who worked for the Jets. And yeah, guys, it's like,
well, they drafted 2 last year, DC, but the first round guy was the stud. But I thought he was in the low teens, though, last year.
Verse?
Although, no, the Rams made the playoffs, so no, it had to be high teens, low 20s, because they lost in the first round. So, yeah, a handful of spots ahead of where 19. Okay. So what's that? 6 spots ahead of where Atlanta picked? Something like that? 7? I thought the Falcons gave up a lot. They need him, though. They need the kid to be a stud. They need a pass rush. He better be, DC. That's all I'm saying. He better be good.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. How you doing on this Friday? How's your week been? Stay up late last night watching the draft? We've got a few draft poll questions. One of them is, which network was your network of choice for the draft? And if you sampled all three, come on, there's a primary one that you watched. You know what we're asking. So did you watch the college guys on ABC? Did you watch Greeny and the NFL guys on ESPN? Or did you watch the NFL Network?
Simple as that. Or did you not watch it all? Those are the four choices. And we have our Jags question up.
Yep.
What grade would you give the Jags for moving up to the second pick to take Travis Hunter? A, B, C, and then I combine D and F. I have not yet voted on that one. I am not giving it an A or a B. I can assure you of that.
Well, they gave up a lot. A lot.
You know, another way to have phrased that, and I just thought of it now, is with the Jags drafting Travis Hunter second in what they gave up, where will the Jags be selecting next year? Top 5, top 10, top 20, or 21 through 32? I'm guessing they're going to draft in the top 10 again.
So, in other words, where will Cleveland be drafting?
Oh, yeah. You just gave your pickup. You don't have one.
That Mark Miller, the David Moulton. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
Well, they didn't waste much time before a raucous and huge crowd in Green Bay. Probably twice as many people in the parking lot at Lambeau Field as reside in that small city. Cam Ward, as expected, goes number 1 to the Titans. And then there was the big trade. The Jags move up from 5 to 2. They give up a first rounder this year, obviously, a second rounder this year, a fourth rounder this year, and their first round pick next year for Travis Hunter. They feel he's a star, and they said, we need stars. Their plan is to play them both ways. Let's see if it works out. After that trade, there was not another one until the Giants moved back into the first round at 25. They gave up 2 third-round picks, one this year, one next year. The third-round pick this year was the late supplemental compensatory pick. So they didn't give up the first pick of the third round to Houston. They gave up pick 99. I found it interesting. Look at what Jacksonville gave up to move up 3 spots to take Travis Hunter. Look what Atlanta gave up to move back into the first round to take the edge rusher from Tennessee, including a first-round pick next year. And the Giants moved back into the first round. They moved, 8 spots, maybe 9, and they gave up 2 third-round picks, one of which is basically a fourth rounder. I have no idea if Jackson Dart can play. I thought the Giants did well from a value standpoint, though, in terms of trading back in for a quarterback and not giving up a ton. 4 trades officially. Our over-under was 3.5. If you didn't stay until the end, the Eagles and Chiefs swapped spots for trade number 4. It was the equivalent of losing the over-under in a basketball game on that 40 to 60 footer at the buzzer. Only 2 quarterbacks taken, Ward and Dart. No Shedeur Sanders, no Jalen Milroe. Dolphins at 13 took Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. Tampa Bay, which you heard Roy Cummings and Mark Miller on this show yesterday, pound the table and say they better take Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. Well, we know the Bucs listen to the show because that's who they took.
Was stunned with the linebacker from Bama still there that they went with the wide receiver, because Campbell had been associated with Tampa for a while, and they don't go linebacker, they go wide receiver.
Apparently, there's an injury concern with Campbell. A physical that came back spotty. So same with Will Johnson. They're worried actually that the knee problem could be chronic. That's why he's still available. But some of the marquee picks last night, Ashton Genty went to the Raiders at 6. Tyler Warren fell to the Colts at 14. And for the first time in 23 years, the Packers took a wide receiver in the first round. Matthew Golden, the wideout from Texas, went to Green Bay at 23. There were 8 offensive linemen taken. There were 9 defensive linemen taken. That includes the edge rushers. Mark, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. And I'm counting 2 corners with a Travis Hunter being one of them. I'm counting 4 wide receivers with Travis Hunter being one of them. This was not a draft for the skilled players. Second round begins at 7 o'clock tonight. Rounds 2 and 3 tonight begins an hour earlier at 7. The Browns with 2 of the first 4 picks tonight. First 4 teams on the clock are Cleveland, Houston, Tennessee, and Cleveland again. Bears have 2 of the first 9 picks in the second round. Miami picks 48th. The Bucks pick 53rd. Remember, the Jags gave up their second round pick to Cleveland for Travis Hunter. That's Cleveland's second round pick at 36.
SEC with 15, Big Ten with 11 of the first round picks. ACC and Big 12 with 2 each. Mountain West and Missouri Valley with 1 each.
NHL. Panthers are up 2 spit on the Lightning, winning game 2-0. Lightning power play went 0 for 5. Bobrovsky only had to make 19 saves. A couple of them, though, were grade A scoring chances, and there were a couple times where the Lightning had open nets and just shot it wide.
There were 3 grade A scoring chances in which Tampa didn't hit the net. Period.
But 0 for 5 on the power play. Kucherov invisible. And the only 5-on-5 goal in the game scored off a faceoff by Florida in the first period. And
Florida did lose their best faceoff man in Barkov, who was clobbered on a big hit that was a big part of the game, caused a 5-minute major interference penalty that both David and I thought was a 2-minute penalty. Tampa killed it off, but didn't have enough time to tie it in the end.
So the Panthers return home up 2 spit. Toronto in overtime again. A minute 16 into overtime, minute 19, I should say. Simon Benoit with the game winner. Leafs 3-2 over the Senators. Toronto up 3 spit in that first round series. Last 2 games going to OT. How about the Wild? Kaprizov 2 power play goals. Minnesota's up 2-1 on Vegas. They beat them 5-2. The Blues returned home. They like the home cooking. 3 in the first, 4 in the third. Buchnevich with a hat trick. They bombed Hallebuck and Winnipeg 7-2 to get back in that series. Jets lead at 2-1. Game 3, Caps and Canadians tonight. Game 3, Carolina and the Devils tonight. Game 3, LA Kings and Edmonton tonight. All 3 of those series have the home teams down 2-0. NBA. Knicks in control until it got a little hairy in the final 90 seconds. But the Knicks up 13 at the half, up 10 going to the fourth. Got 31 from Cat, 30 from Brunson. Held off Detroit, who hit a few threes, and there was some crazy officiating at the end of that game, too.
One of the one of the most bizarre endings that didn't mean anything at the end of the day. Brunson was at the line, right? And he
half a second to go.
There's a half a second left. He missed the free throw.
Intentionally.
On purpose.
Detroit
because
didn't have any timeouts left, and so they had to chuck it 90 feet in a half a second and make it to win the game.
He misses it on purpose. They start the clock before the ball hit the rim. So they award Detroit the ball with the full half second on the clock.
Right. And they get to inbound it and throw it down court and all that.
Fortunately for the officials, Detroit threw the inbounds pass out of bounds and never even were able to put a shot attempt up. But man, the NBA could have looked really badly today.
Oh, my goodness.
Had somehow Detroit won that game. It was an awful job by the officials, by the clock operators, by everybody involved.
Knicks won 118-116 to lead the series 2-1, Game 4 Sunday. Cade Cunningham and Tim Hardaway Jr. each with 24. Wild one in Memphis. I don't know how many of you watched this game. So Oklahoma City's down 29 at the half. All right. But Ja Morant gets hurt late first half. Without him, the Thunder outscore Memphis by 26 in the second half, by 32 in the second half. And the Thunder come all the way back from down 29 to win 114-108. That series is obviously over. But holy mackerel, down 29 on the road, and they won.
Yeah, Ja got undercut going to the hoop. It was not intentional like the Jimmy Buckets foul the night before. Player just kind of stumbled trying to get back to Morant and fell into him, and Morant went out hard and didn't return.
Clippers bombed the Nuggets 117-83. They were up 18 at the half, pulled away in the fourth. LA up 2-1 in that series. Orlando home for Boston tonight. Milwaukee is hosting Indiana on ESPNU, by the way. Just thought I'd let you know. Have they ever had an NBA game on ESPNU before? And
defeat the purpose of the U.
I know.
ESPNU.
Thank you. T-Wolves and Lakers with the series tied at 1 tonight as well. Baseball, Rays in extra innings again beat Arizona, this time 7-4 and 10. There was a doubleheader yesterday because of rain, and the Royals swept Colorado 7-4, 6-2. The Rockies are 4-20. Wow, don't you have to fire somebody? I mean, don't you, just to make it look like you're paying attention and you care?
How different is this start than what anybody expected out of the Colorado?
4-20 though?
Okay, if they were doing really badly, they would have been 8-16. It's a terrible baseball team.
Okay. White Sox in the game cut short by rain, beat the Twins 3-0. Seattle 4-3 over Boston to take 2 of 3 in that series. Giants with 2 in the 8th to beat the Brewers 6-5. Orioles snap a 3-game skid, beat the Nats 2-1. Angels got a Neto homer in the 8th to beat the Pirates 4-3. And the A's with 2 in the 9th to beat Texas 4-3. Marlins are in Seattle. Rays are in San Diego. And by the way, it's Skeens against Yamamoto tonight in Los Angeles for the Pirates and Dodgers. That's worth the price of admission. Golf, the team competition in New Orleans, the Zurich, Salindo and Velo at 14 under with a one-shot lead. The defending champs of Rory and Shane Lowry 6 back.
That's Salindo and Velo, and I know no one knows who they are, nor should they care. But it was best ball yesterday. They were 10 under on the front. They carded a 26.
Right.
That's pretty good.
It is. That'll play. It really will. LPGA, a major this week, the Chevron, which used to be the Dinah Shore. Co-leaders at 7 under. Lydia Ko's 1 over. Nelly Cordes 5 over. Wow. By the way, the Kentucky Athletic Department is thinking of renaming itself and forming themselves into an LLC. Do you put that on the jerseys? Does that say Kentucky LLC? How does that going to work? And the Division II football playoffs has expanded to 32 teams. Why? Because there are 16 conferences in Division II football, and they've decided to give every conference champion a berth. So they felt they had to expand the tournament. And at 7 minutes before the hour, that was The starting five big stories, and Kentucky's athletic department is now an LLC, or will be, here on Miller and Moulton.
Funny, I thought they'd go S Corp, not LLC, but that's just me. We'll update you on their business dealings coming up. Pat Kirwan in a little more than an hour. Chris Perkins in a little more than 2. Thanks for listening, Miller and Moulton. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, tadalafil, and Viagra, sildenafil, are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American-made, at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Because NBA TV games are on local cable ambient. So you can't watch the NBA TV. I had the same thing happen with the Heat game the night before. I had to laugh yesterday. I got in the car and threw on the Dan Patrick Show for my quick ride home, and I happened to listen to it because they were off all last week. And 2 days ago, they were in Green Bay for the first time. And they're like, it's the best audience we've had here. And I'm like, isn't this the first day? And then Patrick goes, well, tomorrow will be the best audience that we've had too. And they lived right up to it. It was pretty funny. But I didn't hear Gottlieb, but they had Gottlieb on, and they came back, and the Danettes were really pissed off that Gottlieb showed up without a swag bag. They really thought they were getting some free stuff.
All right. I'm with the Danettes. Okay. Totally.
Yeah, like you don't want them on TV with the, 100,000 people watching that show wearing your Green Bay garb. I'm with you.
Totally. In fact, I would have been passing it out during the segment.
Right. I mean, there was a couple guys at FGCU that used to do that with us.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday, the final one of April. Round 1 of the draft last night, rounds 2 and 3 tonight. It begins an hour earlier than it did last night. And obviously, there's a lot less time in between picks, so it moves along quickly. Pat Kirwan 1 hour from now to join us live from Green Bay. Chris Perkins a couple hours from now to talk about the Dolphins, who still have 9 more picks left in this draft. We've got a few poll questions out there, not as many as we had yesterday. By the way, Mark, there are many who are asking, even though we had 5 or 6 draft poll questions yesterday, the one that people want a follow-up on was our late poll question, which was favorite Southern rock band. Allman Brothers or Skinner?
I don't know if I want to talk about it. I'm not sure I want to give the answer because I was afraid of this. And the Allman Brothers got whooped. I mean, whooped. Embarrassingly. And I mean that to the people who voted, not for the band.
Like 70,
Freebird! Freebird! 75% to 25%.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's our follow-up.
By the way, 44% of you thought the Bucs should take an edge rusher. Only 17% thought that they should take a wide receiver.
They took a wide receiver. So there.
If you were the Jags, who would you select with the 5th pick? We did not put in trade with Cleveland for Travis Hunter.
No, we didn't.
Dolph fans that answered, and a lot of them did, wanted an offensive lineman.
I think they were going to get one, but Dallas took him right before him. I did not think there was a lot of that last night. I thought in years past there'd always be 4 to 6 times in which you'd go, oh, they took their pick. I honestly, the first time I yelled it out all night was when Dallas took the Alabama guard at 12 and Miami sitting there at 13. I went, the Dolphins are not happy about that.
You thought 3 quarterbacks would go in the first round? 27% of you answered correctly that it would be 2. And the under 3.5 was the one that you voted on the most. Over 3.5 is what happened because of that late trade in round 1. So we have 2 poll questions up today. Sorry, David, go ahead.
No, the Eagles, who were at 32, apparently thought they had a trade with the Chargers at 22. Worked out. For the linebacker from Alabama, that's who they wanted. And apparently they tried with 2 other teams in between. Could not get a deal worked out. And the guy fell almost all the way to them. And then they moved up 1 spot to get him at 31.
Right now, which network did you watch the draft on last night? ESPN getting the most votes, NFL Network next, ABC third, and didn't watch coming in last, all pretty even. And lastly, what grade would you give the Jacksonville Jaguars for moving up to the second pick to take Travis Hunter? Right now, 50% of you are giving it an A.
Wow. Wow. So you like the bold, do you? Pick Smix is what you're saying. Go get the stud. Go get the star. I will say this. Man, do I hope he's a star. Think of what he will do for the Jaguars if he's a star. And if Trevor Lawrence can play a little bit, and now that in theory he's got 2 stud wide receivers and an offensive background coach, okay, I mean, that could change their franchise. I hope he's a star. I do. I hope he is a Tani. And
I do too. I don't think he's going to be. I don't like the pick for what it's worth. I'm with David. I want to be wrong.
Yes.
I want every franchise to have success. I don't like when teams are garbage. It's not fun, and you feel badly for their fan base. But I did not like the move because I think the Jags have far more needs. And if they think they're getting 2 players, then that's why they gave it up, because they lost 2 important picks. The pick today, the early second-round pick, and where do you think the Jags are going to pick? Where will they land next year that Cleveland's going to take that pick from them?
2 teams gave up first-round picks for next year. Jacksonville gave up theirs. Atlanta gave up theirs to the Rams. I like what the Rams did. I mean, you're drafting, 26? And you can acquire a first-round pick for next year? And it's Atlanta's, which, hey, don't know where it's going to end up. But if you're the Rams, you're pretty big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans once again, wanting the Bucs to keep winning that division. Listen, I understand Jags fan or just somebody who likes what they did. Obviously, you can have a win-win trade. I mean, you can give both sides an A, or one side an A and the other side a B. I get it. I just don't know how you can give the Jacksonville part of the trade a good grade today. Don't we have to wait and see? Like, I think you can grade it from Cleveland's perspective. They moved down 3 spots. They got a very high second-round pick, a very high 4th-round pick, and a number 1 pick in next year's draft to move down 3 spots in the first round. I think you can give Cleveland whatever grade you give them right now. I don't think you can give the Jags grade yet until Travis Hunter plays 3 years.
I would agree with that. But first off, you're the one that came up with the question.
No. Because of that, I had to give it a DF, which I hated to do. I love bold. I love aggressive. I love bold. I want to trade draft picks. I mean, I'm sorry. In a 7-round draft, all right, in terms of how many picks a team gets right, on average, they only get 4 out of the 7 right anyway. And I don't mean in terms of how many of the 7 make the team, because they try to have all 7 make the team. A for money and B for ego. It makes them look good. Okay. But at the end of the day, when you go back, the draft is very much a 50-50, 60-40 proposition. So they're missing on so many draft picks anyway. I mean, and I'll say this, when Khan came out afterwards and said, we've been really good since I've been an owner here about acquiring picks. Where has that gotten us? It's tough to argue with that. It's really tough to argue with that. So, you know what? I love the fact that you were this bold. I love it. Listen, I think this trade can almost work out value-wise if he's just an elite wide receiver. If you've got Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, I mean, in theory, you'll have 2 number 1 wide receivers. I mean, could we 2-3 years from now be talking about the Jags wide receivers the way we talk about the Bengals, the way we talk about the Vikings? I mean, could their wide receivers be, Mark, don't they have to be at least as good as Evans and Godwin?
Yes, 100%, David. And what a great baseline, really, because Evans is obviously a Hall of Fame receiver. Right. Godwin is a terrific number 2. Terrific number 2.
Right. And if
And
Brian,
they've got to be that good. Here's the problem with that. Even if they are, and this is what we're going to find out now with Cohen taking over as the head coach, is the guy throwing him the ball worth a damn? Because right now the jury's out on Trevor.
no doubt.
This has put the bullseye square on the quarterback for the next, really for this season and the next couple after that. But for this year, Trevor Lawrence has to show us that he can play football. And right now the jury's out on whether or not he's a competent NFL quarterback.
Right. But they've paid him. They're stuck with him. They're stuck
Right.
with him for 4 more years. Remember, the $55 million doesn't kick in yet. He's playing this year on the 5th year of his rookie deal. The $55 million kicks in 26. Okay. And they're going to have to keep him for at least 3 of those 5 years. So they have 4 more years of Trevor Lawrence. They have him under contract for 6, but they've got 4 more where financially they can't move off of him. But they're convinced he's the guy and that they've screwed it up around him. And now they're going all in to make it terrific around him. All right. I mean, I hope it works. You know, I want more trades, not just as a sports talk show host, but I'm sorry. If you guys were this good at drafters, you wouldn't be drafted in the position that most of you are drafted in most years.
You know, it was interesting. Mickey Loomis who's never traded back, was asked if he was opposed to trading back. And he said no. But he did make the point that we spend a lot of time putting our board together. And if we move down, we're not getting as good a player. And I feel more comfortable with the guys, and whether that's right or wrong, he feels more comfortable with the hard work that his draft team has put in. His scouts, his executives have put into that board. And I thought they did a fine job yesterday, ignoring the noise, thinking people may need a quarterback. They went out and got a really talented offensive lineman. A plug-and-play left tackle. Here.
And they need him.
Badly.
In fact, they need about 6 more plug-and-play guys. But, you know, as Adam, who is a Jags fan, but in our Twitch chat room, he said, could this be the next Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell? By the way, that was the late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, you know, that's a long damn time ago. I love the fact, you know, I will never, ever, ever criticize any organization for going for something. At the end of the day, it may not work out. That's okay. But I love when people go for it, when they think big.
And the Jags certainly thought big with this one.
Yes. Yes, they did. And the Browns asked for a lot. They asked for what they should have. You're like, wait a minute. You want to move up? We're going to have to pass him up. We're going to have to justify that. We're going to need your 2nd round pick. Okay. We're going to need one other pick in this year's draft. How about your 4th round pick? Yeah, okay. Now, they in turn, Jacksonville asked for a few picks back from Cleveland. I think Cleveland gives them their 4th round and 6th round picks this year, or some variation of a 4th and a 6th this year. And then, you know, the piece de resistance. Listen, you want to do this deal. We need your 1st round pick next year. And we know where you guys usually draft, but that's what you got to give up. And Jacksonville said, done.
So Cleveland now with 2 of the first 4 picks in the 2nd round. They have the first pick of the 2nd round, pick 33, and then they have pick 36. Will Shadur Samuels be one of those picks?
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Adam, we got to talk. Greg Allman was the only talent in that band. Adam, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said in the Twitch chat room. The dumbest. And you've said some dumb stuff in that Twitch chat room. Dwayne Allman didn't have any talent. Dickie Betts didn't have any talent. Are you effing insane? And I know, Nix, I was born in Michigan, so I don't know a goddamn thing about Southern rock. I moved to the South in 1998. I've lived in the South for longer than I lived in Michigan. But you're right, I don't know a damn thing. And REM is a Southern rock, but Southern rock was it's not just where the band geographically was from. It's a moment in time. Southern rock was a 70s thing. Mid to late 70s is when the origins of Southern rock came. Maybe even early 70s with the Allmans. But the Allmans are really the godfathers, if you will, of Southern rock. Everything else kind of derived from that. I'm No Angel. He had one solo hit. And Dwayne Allman was long dead by then. And Little Feat's a great band. Great band. Love Little Feat. But I wouldn't put them with the Allmans and Skinner. That's all. There are probably people in this Twitch chat room who don't even know who Little Feat is. I've not seen it yet, DC. My mother saw it, said it was excellent. I am not a big movie person, and that's on me, DC. I am really not. There's just too many damn games on.
I will say, Empire, there are a couple of movies that look, like maybe I might go.
Nix, you basically take a contrarian view on anything anyone says. Okay? That's what you do in here. That's your thing. Like I told you last week, you are one of the more negative people I've ever seen in here. We've been doing this for 4 years. If I were to put negativity as a list and put number 1 on it, you would win. You've done it. Congratulations.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. A team we have not mentioned, and I think we should, is the Steelers. So are we giving them grief because they didn't take a quarterback? They don't have a second-round pick. And Steelers ain't going to be picking again for a while. And obviously, if they take someone with where they're drafted in the 3rd round, which is what, high 80s? Okay, I mean, you're drafting, whoever it is, whether it's a Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, the Louisville kid, the Syracuse kid, whatever. You draft someone mid to late 3rd round, you're saying project. Anybody mad at the Steelers for not taking a quarterback at 21? For not trading back in to take a quarterback? They're not trading down and then taking a quarterback. I will say, I thought the Steelers largely got a pass last night from the coverage that I saw and heard for not taking a quarterback. It screams to me. They better have, Mark, the whole memorandum of understanding. They better have a handshake deal with Aaron Rodgers. They better know, not think, we're pretty sure. They better know Aaron Rodgers is showing up in Western Pennsylvania for them to pass on a quarterback with no second-round pick in this year's draft, don't you think?
Absolutely. The only and look at Jaden Milroe was talked about going in the 1st round. So to think that he is going to still be there, even though he has a 4th round grade by most, to think that he's going to be there at 83 is one hell of a stretch. But here's Mike, and I'll talk Pittsburgh with you all day, but I get what you're saying that there was a pass. But if you don't think that Dart or Sanders is worthy of, if you don't think it's a franchise quarterback, then don't take him.
No, they are totally.
They made that mistake with Kenny Pickett there, or Pickett.
Yep. And
he couldn't play.
And they obviously concluded that none of these guys measured up. Okay. What are the odds that they're right, though? Honestly, what are the odds that they're right? Both Dart and Sanders and Milroe, in all likelihood, never mind anybody else, they all have to not develop into NFL quarterbacks for the Steelers to be right here. Now, I hope the Steelers are right. I don't want to see anybody blow a pick. But I found that one of the more interesting selections of the night. And I have to admit, I have a bias. Okay, I've got a couple, but I have a draft bias. I am very anti Oregon offensive and defensive linemen. I think that they have largely underperformed where they've been drafted. Deion Jordan with the Dolphins. Kayvon Thibodeau, quite frankly, with the Giants. He ain't worth the 5th pick of the draft with the way he's played. He's had 1 good year out of 3. All right. Very inconsistent. I don't trust Oregon linemen, offensive or defensive. And the Steelers took an Oregon defensive lineman. The Commanders, I believe, took an Oregon offensive lineman. Now, listen, they both graded out. I mean, the Oregon offensive lineman, all Big Ten left tackle, for goodness sakes. You know, he hardly missed any games in 4 years. I mean, on paper, I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. But I'm just telling you, I would not take, and listen, this worked against me last year. I would not have drafted Bo Nix. I don't draft quarterbacks who throw 50, 60% of their passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, big deal. I can do that. Obviously, Bo Nix showed, yeah, I can play a little bit, dude. You're wrong.
So, David, talk to me about the 2nd round and early, and specifically about the Bears and what you would do if you're the GM of the Bears. And I say it for this reason, because they need a quarterback. And obviously, Shedeur Sanders is there. But
hold on. You're saying the Bears need a quarterback?
I'm sorry, the Browns.
Okay.
The Browns. My bad. I misspoke. My mistake. But the Browns have 33 and 36.
Right.
Do you take Sanders at 33 because maybe the Giants and Tennessee could trade out of that spot to someone who would take Sanders ahead of you? Or do you roll the dice and take whatever it is, at 33 with the best, old lineman that's there? There's a couple of edge guys that are there, because you look at the Giants and Tennessee who have their quarterback now.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to stay in that spot and you want Sanders, he should be there for you at 36.
Well, 2 things. Normally, if you're sold on a quarterback, you don't mess around, you take him. So if you're Cleveland and you think Sanders or Milroe can play, then you take him at 33. You don't mess around. One thing to remember, though, Mark, Giants aren't picking 34. Houston now is. Okay, and the reason that that's worthwhile is, Houston's yet to make a pick in this draft. Would they trade down again? Or is Houston, think about it, you make that deal with the Giants at 25, you've got 2-3 guys targeted for 34. Okay, the likelihood you're going to trade down again, that's a gamble. So if I'm Cleveland, I got Houston at 34, and I'm willing to bet they ain't moving. Okay. And I got Tennessee at 35. Now, that's a different story. Okay. However, they got a lot of needs, and they took a quarterback in the 1st round, and here's a prime opportunity to fill one of those other needs. You should be able to get a plug-and-play starter at 35. So, Mark, do I think if you're Cleveland, you could get cute and most likely get away with it and get Sanders or Milroe at 36? I do think you can get away with it because the dynamics at work for both Houston and Tennessee. But what you're supposed to do at quarterback, if he's available and it's your turn, you take him. I mean, is Will Johnson, is Travion Henderson, my guy. I mean, are they worth losing out on the quarterback? Because you're going to take them at 33 and then your guy's not going to be there at 36?
All right. Just wanted to ask, because you could, I'm with you. You could get cute here.
Yes. Now, I would bet large amounts of money Houston won't move out of 34. The Tennessee at 35 is different. They're still in a rebuild. They could acquire assets. Somebody's probably.
They don't have a third.
See?
For what it's worth. They have the
Right.
1st pick in the 4th round, but they don't have a 3rd round pick. That's Kansas City's pick now. So that's a possibility. That's where you're saying, hey, let's not get cute here. The odds are we still can get both players we want. You know, I think Houston will probably go on the defensive side of the ball. They might go receiver there. They're sure as hell not going to take a quarterback. We know that. But I get what you're saying. I'm fascinated today by what the Browns do with their 2 picks. And then the Bears now have 39 and 41. They can do some damage as well early in the second round.
No doubt. There's still a couple of very interesting defensive players. You got the edge rusher, Green, who
from Marshall, who on the list that I have, and mine's from the Athletic. I don't do my own list. Come on now. But the list that I have going off of, Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall, the guy who does this for the Athletic, who does a terrific job, has him as the 10th best prospect overall. He's still available in the second round.
The South Carolina safety, remember, who had the phenomenal workouts and athletically is clearly a first-round pick. He's still available. Obviously, you've got a few running backs that are still available.
So the second round, to me, will be fascinating by what the Browns and the Bears do, and if there's any movement in those first 8-10 picks in the second round. And there usually is.
Yes.
Because they've spent all night now talking to one another. They know what's there, and negotiations are ongoing.
Browns at 33 and 36, Bears at 39 and 41.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't know if you want to ask this question. I don't know if we've asked enough poll questions in the last 2 days, but how do you think your team did in the draft? Or do we want to wait till Monday and ask
Monday.
that? Okay. I have no idea, EB.
So the news press, I'm just looking at X, and the news press puts out a post on the Stagecoach Music Fest and the lineup. And I'm like, is that in Florida? The news press, I figure it's got to be Zach Bryan. So I look up the Stagecoach Music Fest. It's in California. Can you explain to me why the news press is posting on a music festival in California?
Because now, is this in a paper or online? But because
yeah, I know, but I mean,
I agree with you.
That was weird. I was like, all right. By the way, David, you might have to give me a couple of seconds here because tomorrow is National Pretzel Day.
Huh.
And I did not realize some of the origins of the pretzel.
Okay.
It's our oldest snack.
All right.
When do you think the pretzel came into existence?
1823.
The early Middle Ages.
Damn.
Right.
And Seabohm, you're right. Miller and Moulton were Tua guys. We were. Now, I didn't like Tua better than Joe Burrow, okay, but I would have taken him over Herbert. Yeah, I mean, first off, he hasn't been a bad pick. It's just he hasn't been a great pick. I mean, I could argue he's their best quarterback since Marino, which is a hell of a distinction, right? I'm with you, Feeney. Dolphins need to take an lineman, get a running back in the third round, maybe. But I wouldn't go running back either. They have other needs that I think are bigger.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until Pat Kirwan joins us at the top of the hour, live from Green Bay. He worked the draft last night for NFL Radio. He'll work it all weekend long as well. 200,000+, they estimated, were on hand last night. I mean, the city, I think, has got 107,000 people.
Right.
And they estimated essentially double the city was on hand for the draft last night. I mean, the pictures were amazing. I mean, you stand there for 4 hours. I don't know what you're doing. Fortunately, it was just cloudy and 50, so thank goodness. Weather could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I can't see myself ever wanting to attend the draft as a fan. For you and I, if somehow Tampa ended up with the draft one year and we went up there to do our shows Thursday, Friday, okay, I get that from a working standpoint. But, I get people that go to the Super Bowl not to go to the game. You and I have done Radio Row at the Super Bowl. There's all kinds of interactive things for fans to do.
Yep. It's like going to the Final Four and you go to the semi, but you don't go to the championship. You leave on Sunday.
So that seems like a really long night for people to stand around and wait for the moments. And the majority of them were Packer fans. I mean, obviously.
Yes. I'll give them credit. All right. When Goodell was talking about the passing of Steve McMichael, okay, they kept it quiet. on the couple of occasions that they brought up Walter Payton, quiet. Then as soon as it was anything else having to do with the Bears, they unleashed. But when it came to the two Hall of Famers who have passed, okay, it was like they took their hat off. The anthem's playing. Hold on.
Right.
Okay. And then as soon as they could, they put the hat back on. You suck, Bears suck. So I just thought that was cute.
They did a good job of booing Goodell every time he exited the tunnel.
I got to admit, I really thought he was going to walk out at one point and go, you do know I brought the draft to Green Bay. Seriously, I thought at one point he was going to give it back to him. Kind of like, you do know I brought the draft to Green Bay and you're booing me? Really?
I'm with you.
I thought he could have thrown that right at him last night. But instead, he just smiled. I love him, by the way, pointing. There's 200,000 people. He's like, pointing to Rob, row 6, with a cheese head. I see you. Then a little point over here. I love that.
So I got to deviate for just a second because I learned something today and I wanted to share. Was perusing X and saw a post that tomorrow, not today, tomorrow is National Pretzel Day. These pretzels are making me thirsty. So the pretzel is basically the OG of snacks. The pretzel apparently came to us in 610 AD.
Whoa!
The pretzel goes back to the Middle Ages. The most popular story attributing the invention of the pretzel goes to an Italian monk who is said to have twisted leftover bread dough into a knot shape to reward students for reciting their prayers. Pretola, Latin for little reward. The 3 holes in the pretzel were said to symbolize the Holy Trinity. The Germans then took over in the 12th century. But the pretzel in our country goes back to the 18th century in Pennsylvania. So my question to you, David.
Yes.
Soft pretzel or pretzel rod? The soft, the place that there's a restaurant close by that serves this humongous soft pretzel with a Gouda cheese dip, and I'm telling you, it's sensational.
Yeah, soft pretzel. I mean, come on. I that's not really a question, is it?
Some people, I'd love a pretzel rod. You give me a bag of pretzel rods. That is a tasty treat.
Now, I have to admit, I have probably had about 853 New York City street vendor pretzels in my life. Okay. And in theory, they were soft. And yet they ended up oftentimes being as hard as the pretzel rod. Okay. And yet I loved all 853 of them.
But apparently, what is it, that Auntie Anne's that does the pretzel? You can get a free pretzel tomorrow on National Pretzel Day.
All right. That's good to know. Thank you.
So who's twisted up in a knot about their team's draft pick?
See how good he is, ladies and gentlemen. That's professional transition right there.
Because there are some teams that took some stabs yesterday.
All right, here, very quickly, okay? 6 seconds or less. All right, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Tennessee, Cam Ward.
Thumbs up.
Jags, the trade for Travis Hunter.
Thumbs down for me.
Okay, and I'd say sideways. Abdul Carter, the Giants.
Up.
Up. Will Campbell to the Patriots.
Up.
I'm with you. Mason Graham to the Browns.
Up.
Well, obviously I'm up because the 2 guys that I said I put my job on the line for outside of the top 3 were Will Campbell and Mason Graham, and they went 4-5. Raiders taking Genty.
I'm sideways to up, but they did not run the ball at all last year. This has to help them immediately.
You mean they lost Josh Jacobs and they were unable to run the ball, huh?
They were like 30th in the league, I think.
Funny how that works. I'm with you. I'm sideways to up. Membo, the Missouri tackle, 7 to the Jets.
He's a right tackle. He's raw. They say he's terrific, that they can plug him in and play the right side. So if you can get a lineman that you can plug and play, it's got to be up.
I'm sideways to up only because the Jets have done a bad job developing a lineman, new crew. I hope it works. Interesting. I thought obviously the Jags trading up for Hunter was, quote, interesting. But I thought the first true pick in which you went, oh, wow, was when Carolina at 8 took Tet McMillan, the 6'4" wide receiver from Arizona.
I don't think I was as surprised as you were, because as I started reading and getting ready for the draft last night, the one thing that became apparent to me, and we had a couple people on the show yesterday that said similar, is that this guy wasn't getting out of the top 10 when people started calling. In fact, I happened to listen to a little bit of Mike Florio, and I don't always love Mike Florio, but Mike Florio said he talked to a bunch of wide receiver coaches, and when he did his mock draft, the people he knows came back at him and said, yeah, McMillan's not getting out of the top 10. So NFL people were high on this guy.
His college coach for most of his tenure, Jed Fish, I have a lot of respect for. He's got a lot of pro experience also, so he knows about developing guys, and he raved about him. He says he's the next Mike Evans. The only thing that concerns me, and I would be sideways to up, first off, I might have gone Tyler Warren instead of Loveland, but also is some people have questioned whether or not Tet McMillan really loves football. Okay. 8th overall, man. I want a guy who's going to eat and sleep this for the next 10 years. Banks, the tackle from Texas to the Saints.
I love linemen. I'm up on this guy.
I'm too.
Started like every game he played. He's played left tackle since he was in high school. It is this is not trying to move a right tackle over. It's not a swing guy. It's a left tackle.
The Bears go Loveland, not Warren, at tight end at 10, and the Bears have had 6 tight ends for the last 5 years.
Sideways?
I'm sideways to up. I know what they're thinking, and I do think he's more dynamic than Cole Kmet. Okay. Not sure how much he's needed right now, but okay. Edge rusher, Mikael Williams out of Georgia to the Niners at 11.
Thought they might want to go offensive line there. They probably didn't think that, with the 2 tackles already being gone, that they couldn't get the value at that point. How do you go wrong with an edge guy from Georgia, David?
I agree. And Mark, this is another how the next pick, Tyler Booker for the Cowboys, offensive lineman. I think they stole Miami's pick. The 3 tackles going at, where'd they go? 4, 7, and 9 killed San Francisco. San Francisco's like, damn, we wanted those 3 to get to 11. They would have taken them. Booker, the Alabama guard, to the Cowboys.
Good pick. They just lost a lineman to retirement, a really good one at guard, and they replaced him. I compliment the Cowboys for what they did.
Yeah, they've actually done a good job of drafting offensive linemen in the last 10 years.
They've done a good job of drafting the last 10 years. They are just terrible at re-signing them. They spend too much money, and they've been terrible at free agency.
Well, I will say they have not necessarily done well rounds 3, 4, and 5. They've done a very good job up top of their draft. They've missed in the middle more than they would have liked. The Dolphins, Kenneth Grant at 13.
Love it. Pat Kirwan on our show yesterday says he likes Grant as much as he liked Graham, maybe more. So I'll go with the expert and say this is a good pick for Miami.
Also, huge area of need. You could argue bigger area of need even than the interior offensive linemen, because the Dolphins have more of those. I think they only had like 2 defensive tackles on the whole roster. Colts get Tyler Warren.
2 thumbs up. To sit there and get Warren at 14, kudos to the patience of the Colts.
So Falcons go Jalon Walker, linebacker, rush the passer off the edge from Georgia.
Again, we like Georgia players. This seems to be a good fit. They need defense in Atlanta.
Yes, they had to go defense. They've gone offense with like 4 of the last 5 first-round picks. Walter Nolan to the Cardinals at 16. The defensive tackle, Ole Miss. A lot of character concerns about Nolan.
Yeah, I'm going to just give it an incomplete. I don't know enough about the guy to say whether it's thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs sideways. This is a we'll see pick.
Sideways for me. So the Bengals go the edge rusher from A&M, Stewart.
People love him. This is a good player. I know there was a lot of talk that Detroit wanted to go up and trade to get him, and I trust Detroit's front office and what they were thinking. So I like it for the Bengals. It fits a need as well for Cincinnati, David.
Seattle plays it very safe. They go the versatile interior offensive lineman Zabel from North Dakota State.
I think it's a great pick. Can play anywhere on the line, can play center for you for a decade. That's a really good pick.
I think it's a good pick. I don't know if he's a great player, but I think he'll be a good one. Bucks go Egbuka. They don't go defense. They go Egbuka, the whiteout, Ohio State.
Scared off by the medicals from Jihad Campbell, who went later in the first round. I love Egbuka. I was pounding the table for him yesterday. How can I do anything but say thumbs up?
Barron, the corner from Texas, went to the Broncos at 20.
I think he's a really good player. I'm miffed at the pick that they didn't go with a wide receiver there. I'm really surprised they didn't go offense there.
Yeah, I'm giving it a thumbs down. There's a part of me that almost doesn't care how, and he is a good player. I almost don't care. Okay, first off, you have arguably the best corner in the league on the other side. All right, and I understand the division you're in and all that. Bo Nix needs some help. Okay, and you're passed on Hampton, the running back. Okay, I don't like it. So Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon to the Steelers, he's obviously going to replace Hayward in a couple of years.
Right, and it was a position of need. It wasn't quarterback, so I'm not sure. They must not have liked any of the quarterbacks, and they want to replace Hayward. We'll see. Thumb sideways.
Yeah, thumb sideways for me. Hampton, the running back, North Carolina, goes to the Chargers at 22.
Not surprised at all by that pick. You know they want to run the football. This guy's well-liked. It's a good pick.
Packers go wide receiver, Golden from Texas at 23.
They needed it. They need skill guys. Love the fact that they went offense here. Think it makes the division more interesting. Thumbs up to, sideways up on this one.
I have a feeling that Denver at 20 took the guy they really wanted. I think they would have taken the corner at 23. I'm sideways on Golden for what it's worth. Vikings keep their pick. Go Jackson, the guard from Ohio State.
Thought they would trade out. Was surprised that the Giants didn't do a deal with the Vikings, who wanted desperately to get into the second round. But they fortified their line after the way they were beat up in the last two games. I'm going to go thumbs up.
Sideways for me, only because with 4 picks, I thought they needed to move this one and do better value than just Donovan Jackson. Giants trade into 25, give up 2/3 for Jackson Dart.
I thought what they gave up was worth making the move. Thumb sideways to up.
I agree. Pierce, the edge from Tennessee. Falcons trade back in with the Rams, give up next year's first rounder.
Thumbs down. They gave up way too much.
I'll go down to sideways. They did get the Rams' second-round pick in this year's draft. But so anyway, there you have it. Most of the first round, you all give the same grades, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. We'll ask Pat Kirwan his thoughts, the picks he liked, the picks he didn't, his thoughts on who's still on the board. Pat Kirwan from Green Bay next.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. You have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit SleepTreatmentDirect.com. That's SleepTreatmentDirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I have sent Pat 2 texts. I have not heard anything from him. I'm a little worried.
Oh man, I will really be pissed.
I'm going to call him.
I just don't know why, if you're the Vikings, you couldn't have done the same deal that that Houston did with the Giants. JB, I mean, why not? and get the 2 threes out of the deal and move back from 24 to 34.
I was afraid of that.
God, damn it. I could have booked so many effing people today, too.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home on this Football Friday. It is, after all.
Friday.
Yeah. First round of the draft last night, rounds 2 and 3 tonight, rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday afternoon. Draft begins an hour earlier tonight at 7 o'clock. Still a bunch of quarterbacks available. Still some other good players that were expected to go in the first round, as happens every year, still readily available. How do you think your team did yesterday in the first round? 21,000 is the text line. Twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton to give us your thoughts. We got 3/4 of the way through the first round, Mark. Right. In terms of thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. All right. We stopped at the Giants trading back in at 25 for Dart. Then the Falcons traded back in for Pierce, the edge rusher from Tennessee, at 26. You and I both thought the Falcons gave up too much.
Way too much. I am stunned what they had to give up to move. The Falcons, what did they give up? A first next year.
Right.
And
then didn't they switch twos?
Yeah.
This year? So that, but they gave up a first next year to trade back in for the 26th pick of the draft. But they felt they needed defensive help, and they drafted a Georgia kid and a Tennessee kid to help their defense. I think the Ravens crushed the Lions. I think the Lions would have loved Malachi Starks at 28, and the Ravens took him at 27.
You may be right. I thought, the Ravens do what they do. They pick quality players from good colleges. They sit there and wait. We applauded what the Eagles did at 31. It's tough not to applaud what the Ravens did at 27, David.
I know Ozzie doesn't run the Ravens anymore, but if Ozzie speaks up, they usually do what he says. Ozzie, obviously one of the all-time greats at the University of Alabama, very connected there. When the Ravens didn't take Jihad Campbell at 27, now I think the Lions took Tyleik Williams, defensive lineman, Ohio State, at 28. I still would have taken Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, if I was the Lions. Okay. I'm not crazy about this pick for the Lions. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, he is an Ohio State defensive lineman after all. But I have to admit, though, Mark, when the Ravens right before me didn't take an Alabama player, and if there's an Alabama player with a pulse, the Ravens, because of Ozzie, take him, because Ozzie gets the scoop.
Now, the Lions could have gone with the safety from South Carolina. They didn't. They just re-signed their safety to the highest contract for any safety in the league. So that may have been some hesitation at that position. But if you didn't want to go safety, they had screamed about going edge. And I wonder what the hell's going on with this Marshall kid who was ranked really high by most people. I thought that's where the Lions would go. I wouldn't have, because I don't trust small college players in premium positions. They need some help up front. They needed edge help as much as they need defensive tackle help, but it makes them tougher on defense, and the Lions certainly need that. I'll go thumb sideways.
Commanders at 29 take the all-first team Big Ten left tackle in Josh Connerly from Oregon. I've got a bias against linemen from Oregon. I think they underachieve. I think they're soft, although this kid, I think 6'5", 310. So tough to call them soft. But listen, I'm going to go sideways because I thought there were a couple different areas that they were going to go, like the safety from South Carolina, like Jihad Campbell. But I can't give a thumbs down to a team that takes an offensive lineman, especially when I have a franchise quarterback. You can never have enough big people in front of them.
I'm with you there. I'll go thumb sideways to up. Just listening to what Pat said on our show yesterday, and I kind of trust him. He does a ton of draft work. Would you have gone Simmons instead of Collarly there?
Simmons, higher ceiling, Connerly, higher floor, and durable, which Simmons obviously this year was not. So would I? Yes. At 30, and it was in front of me, and now I lost it. So
Harrison.
The Bills go with Hairston, the corner from Kentucky. I think secondary was a huge area of need for the Bills. Huge. Okay. I might have gone, once again, the safety from South Carolina over Hairston. But in terms of need, I'm going to give it sideways to thumbs up.
I'm going to give it sideways to thumbs up, leaning thumbs up, because he had one of the best on-stage interviews of the night with NFL Network. The kid was so excited, so happy, just so elated. And Jamie Ertl did the interview with him and said, you basically high-fived every player who came out of the green room. And now it was your pick. And he just, the kid was beside, to see that much joy. There are a couple players that are all business, and that's fine too. To see the overwhelming joy out of that young man, I'm rooting for him. I want him to be a good player just because he looks like a really happy kid.
Eagles give up a 5th rounder to move up one spot. And remember, they got 21 picks in the next 2 drafts. So they give up a throwaway pick for them to move up one spot to get their hands on Jihad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama. Apparently some injury concerns with Campbell in terms of his physical, and that's why he fell. Your thoughts on the Eagles and Campbell?
I love it. A guy that was a top 20 player, top 18 player on damn near everybody's board, falls to one of the best organizations in football, and they put him in at linebacker. Thumbs up.
And finally, Chiefs move back a spot and get the guy that most folks, when looking at the draft, said, I think the best the Chiefs can do, picking at the end of the first round, is to get their hands on Ohio State offensive tackle Josh Simmons. It's an area of need. He's a very good player. Because of injury, he fell, or he's going to fall. And I don't think the Chiefs can do better than this. And Mark, it's not often that you're drafting 31, 32, and you get the guy that you've got circled. I think this is a huge thumbs up for the Chiefs.
100%. It's not like we've been talking about the Chiefs and their tackles since, I don't know, the Bucks beat them in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's been a glaring need on this team, and they get a good one. Yeah, he was injured last year, but come on, this is a plug-and-play guy at tackle. This is a tremendous pick for the Chiefs.
So Will Johnson, the Michigan corner, is available. All right. Injury concerns apparently with Johnson. He only played 4 games last year, didn't run a 40 time. The guy Mark's been pounding the table for, Mike Green, edge rusher Marshall, is available. Eamon Wari, the South Carolina safety, is still available. There's still another edge rusher, the kid from Boston College, Ezeroku. He's available. You've got the quarterbacks, Shadur Sanders, Jalen Milroe. all available. The running backs, remember, such a deep, talented class of running backs. Only 2 were taken. Both Ohio State running backs and about 8 more are probably going to go today.
The Missouri receiver is still there. He was at one point ranked by some as the number 1 receiver. I've seen him anywhere from 3 to 4 on most charts that I've looked at, but he was someone with the first round / second round grade. I would imagine he'll be off the board. And when that happens, David, I think you're going to see a run today, perhaps, on the receivers that are left. You know, if you need a wideout, you've got the 2 Iowa State kids, you've got the kid from Utah State, you got Trey Harris from Ole Miss, that are all potential second round guys.
Saw both receivers from Iowa State in person. Would have no problems taking them in the draft, for what it's worth. No problem, especially Friday. No problems taking either one in the draft today. Browns with 2 of the first 4 picks today. Bears pick 39th and 41st today, which I believe is 7th and 9th today. So there you have it. So kind of the keys. When does Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe come off the board?
Do you think Cleveland will take Shedeur Sanders with pick 33?
No, I don't. I think if anything, I'll make a prediction. I think Milroe goes before Sanders.
Really?
Yeah, I think the teams will bet. First off, if you passed on the quarterback in the first round, then you don't think there's anybody in this draft who's your franchise quarterback and a plug-and-play guy. And I think that a lot of teams look at Milroe and think ceiling, and that his ceiling could be higher than Sanders. And since I'm going to project him, since I'm going to take him on Friday and I'm going to stash him for a little bit, let me go for the higher ceiling. That's my bold quarterback prediction today. Obviously, we'll come back on Monday and know whether or not I'm an idiot again or I was onto something. By the way, Pat Kirwan's going to join us on the other side. All right? Time zone difference. Pat needed to sleep in a little bit. I mean, he only flew and worked 13 hours yesterday. So Pat Kirwan to join us coming up in less than 10 minutes here on Miller and Moulton.
Couple of poll questions today. Obviously, they have to do with the draft. One's just, where did you watch it? ABC, ESPN, NFL Network, or I didn't watch the draft. Just curious, your thoughts on the broadcast that you watch. And I did not watch any of ABC's coverage, and probably should have, because most people think Nick Saban did a tremendous job. I watched the NFL Network. I was comfortable with their quality. They always do a fine job. I can't handle Greeny. It was nails on a chalkboard for football to me, and I took it off pretty quickly. That's our one poll question. And then what grade would you give the Jags for moving up to the second pick to take Travis Hunter? Right now, 44% of you are giving it an A grade. Only 31% are giving it a C or worse. Pat Kirwan next.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Pat. Good morning, Pat.
I was sitting here doing work going, all right, I only got 40 minutes and we'll be on with these guys. And then I look, oh my God, I'm in a different time zone. So stupid.
What time did you get back to Appleton last night?
About midnight.
Yeah.
About 11:30.
So you got out pretty quick after that last pick then, huh?
Well, we had a little exit for the media guys out the side door, but
nice.
We got out of the building and then we had to wait for a car to come and get us because you'll love this, Mark, right up your alley here. As soon as Green Bay picked, everybody who was a Packer fan, which is about 60% of the audience, went right outside of the bars outside the stadium, and we're still out there, I guess, till 2 or 3 in the mornings. Kind of insane. Yeah, it was going crazy.
It definitely looked like there was that 60. I thought it even looked like more than 60% Packer fans from the shots they were doing.
Well,
I tell you what, Pat. David and I, we didn't do it this year. David just couldn't do it. But we've always done our own draft show. So I watch but don't listen. I had to go get my daughter last night. I think I should have just put my Sirius app on and listened to you guys and turned all of them down. I heard Saban was great. I did not watch any of ABC's coverage. I can't handle the ESPN coverage. It's awful.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I don't listen to anything else because we're doing it. But Saban was pretty funny. He was loosened up by the young guys, and I early on we had him on a screen, and I could see that they're all laughing and having a good time, and he's dead serious. And then he loosened up, and he was very good, from what I could see.
I happened to go get my daughter from gymnastics right as Mason. We're coming home. And Mason Graham gets picked. And they're all raving about Mason Graham, and they go to you. Pat, I already knew what you thought. And so I'm kind of giggling. And you're like, well, I don't. And then they go back with all his productivity, and you went, he had 8 sacks. What kind of productivity is that? I was dying. am like.
So, I don't really have a lot of time to tell them how I really feel. So the dude is the first defensive lineman off the board, and he's a 3 technique, the Warren Sapp position. And I also know someone not named Pete Carson to me goes, and he's got a really bad body. So I said, okay. And then when he came over to sit with us, I'm going, fat, just a fat guy. Yeah. I know. And Jason Horowitz looked at me like he didn't know what to say after I said, he's got 8 sacks, dude. What do you want me to tell you? I'm good.
I was laughing. I just thought, because I already knew what you thought, because we've talked about it enough on this show. So I knew where you were. And they're all they go to you, and I'm just like, this is going to be good.
Pat, anytime you talk to somebody nationally the way you talk to me, we're a big fan.
Well, I love Jason Horowitz just as much as I love you. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. No. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, because obviously we don't have any, guards up when the 3 of us shoot the bull on the air. And so I love when you lay out somebody on the show and go, yeah.
Yeah, well, part of it with you and me, it's just because I feel like Mark expects me to do it once a week at least. The problem with Jason Horowitz is that he grew up in Detroit. And yet, even though he went to Syracuse, like most of these Michiganders, they think University of Michigan is their school. And I go, we're not getting away with this. Rick Neuheisel was sitting next to me. He's hitting me in the leg, just laughing his ass off. Excuse me. Can't believe I'm just sitting here like a dumb shit thinking, all right, I'll be ready in 40 minutes. Let me go get a coffee. No, wait a second. It's a different time zone. Sorry.
No?
That's not like you didn't work at all yesterday.
Yeah,
You just took the day off.
Slacker.
Flew, 2-hour show, 4.5-hour draft show.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Plates won in overtime.
Hey, and thank God David sent me the note that they won in overtime 4-3. You ever remember?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan joins us live from Green Bay, Wisconsin, having worked round one of the NFL draft last night for NFL Radio. He will do his afternoon show, Moving the Chains, again today with Jim Miller, and then they will do rounds 2 and 3 tonight. And then obviously more work on Saturday before flying back to the 239. Pat, as always, joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. So first off, Pat, thanks for joining us. Long day yesterday. We appreciate it. Secondly, since they started moving the draft around, the atmosphere, the surroundings last night, I know you're working, but what'd you think?
Well, you couldn't help but feel the atmosphere, even when we were driving over there to do our show, the show before the draft. You could feel it in the crowd. It felt like a lot of Packer fans, but they were coming from everywhere. And I didn't think it was, when they said 250,000, I'm going, where are they going to stay? The thing's going to get over late at night, and where are they going? And there's really not enough hotel rooms to accommodate everybody. And even with the people renting their houses, I didn't think the crowd would be as big as some of the other places. Nashville was ridiculously large, 1 million people in the streets, but it was exciting, and they were having a great time. And after the Packers picked, they couldn't wait to get to the bars. You know, those people out there, or where I am right now, there's something about beer and brats. You know, that's required eating and drinking every day. So Matthew Golden goes, and I thought Murph did a great job, Mark Murphy, introducing the pick and revving up the crowd.
He did a fantastic job, no doubt. But the big news of the draft was something that became, known late afternoon, that the Jags were working on a deal with the Browns. They ended up making the deal. They take Travis Hunter. Your thoughts on the trade, what they gave up? And, Pat, kind of stole your thunder of what you've talked about and learned from people over the years. When you're picking in the top 4, you're thinking gold jacket. For what they gave up, to me, Pat, he damn well better be in Canton one day.
Yes. And so they gave up a lot, but, the move up in the top 5 and 6 and even almost the top 10 is always heavy compensation. And for them to move out of there, that being Cleveland, they were going to get it, and they took it. I sat with Travis after he was picked, and I've talked to him many other times, but I was so impressed with him and how he handles himself. And I don't think he can go both ways all the time, but I thought, what? I probably would have made the move for this guy too. So let's see if it works out. I'm not going to criticize him, but man, there will be a microscope on the compensation and giving up picks. I didn't think there was going to be a lot of picks and trades in this draft, and there were not. And even the one at the end was ridiculous. Philly and Kansas City. What did Philly think? Someone was coming up for G.I. Campbell? Not. They were coming up for a quarterback. David called it during the week, but no one was coming up for Shador, and Jackson Dart was gone. So I think it was kind of almost ceremonial. I just don't think they wanted someone to bump him at the last second because Campbell at the bottom was great, but very easy. I thought, okay, you guys, especially David on this one. Dave, that draft was moving along so fast, they had to slow down the pace of the picks. Otherwise, they were going to be way early for the 11 o'clock news on the East Coast.
Yeah, well, they slowed it down, though. A lot of teams who I thought knew who they were taking in the last half of the draft. Okay, I thought they took the full allotment there. I thought they were appeasing television and commercial breaks, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Getting back to Travis Hunter, though, what seems apparent today is the Jaguars' intention is to play him both ways. Now, we know they'll figure out a way to take some snaps off on both sides of the ball. But, Pat, it sounds like the Jags thought is, first off, wide receiver 1 before cornerback 1. And 2, yeah, he's going to play 90 to 100 snaps, not 75. Your thoughts on what they're thinking of doing with him?
Well, they are thinking of that. That's why they moved up. And I also think it's why Cleveland moved down. They don't think that. And I don't think that. And I'd love to see it as much as I love the kid and his talent. This is the NFL. And Dion says things like, well, there's more TV breaks. To me, what are you talking about? To go at 90 plays a game, you're really, and I'll trim it down from the 100 plays that are probably going to be called, maybe 110 plays. The velocity of every play, it's what are you doing in the fourth quarter? You've already been out there for 80 plays. And I said this on the show before. If he gets hurt, you need 2 new starters. And I thought Bill Cowher said it best because he had Woodson, who could play. He could stay on the field the whole game. And he realized early on in that guy's career he couldn't do it. And nor did they want him to do it. And I think that'll happen to Jacksonville. Is it a nice idea? Yeah. Did they give away a lot to gamble on a concept? Yes. Do I think he's going to be able to function 100% athletically? No. I think if he's on corner after playing receiver for the last 4 series, I'm going to run vertical routes and make him cover him. And then when he's on offense, I'm going to press him like crazy. He's going to get more physicality, so he doesn't really have the ability athletically to keep doing it. So I'd love it to happen because I do think there's a lot of athletes on the sideline that played tremendous football on the opposite side of the ball in high school, and they don't do it anymore. Maybe we've gone too far with 2 platoon, but he's not going to be able to handle that. Sounds nice.
Your thoughts on the Steelers not taking a quarterback? I know that means that they probably didn't have one up high, but they go D tackle, someone to replace Cam Hayward down the road, but not taking a quarterback with what they have in the quarterback room. Your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people thought, maybe the 3 of us as well, that they'd take Sanders, and they didn't. I don't know. It tells me that Sanders' visit to Pittsburgh wasn't all it was made out to be. The reports, when you're not in the room and you don't know what the guy's handling himself like. So what I was told didn't surprise me. They didn't take him. Now, the next problem is they don't have a pick anywhere near where Sanders is going to go. So they're not going to get him. They're not going to get Milroe. So what are they doing? They're going to buy their time for next year's draft and probably take a guy like the kid out of Syracuse in the 3rd or 4th round, maybe. But they got some issues, and it really is a strong statement about how they were not and would not be taking Shador Sanders. So I think they're not alone. I thought the Rams, we talked about this, might do it. They didn't do it. They traded out of the spot and gave it to Atlanta. But Shador, if you really didn't know his last name, and you just watched the football player, you'd say he's a 2nd, maybe a 3rd round pick. And that's where he's going to land up in this draft.
Got about a minute before we take a break. Your thoughts on Atlanta moving back in for the Tennessee edge rusher and what they gave up to move back in?
That's the problem. I like James Pierce. I've taken him in our mock drafts every time. Jim has not. I took him every time. But I never took him by giving up next year's first round pick. But I don't know. We've been talking to each other for 20 years. In the 20 years, have we ever missed a year where we thought Atlanta needed a pass rusher?
No, they've needed one since John Abraham. No, seriously, they've needed one for at least 15 years, if not 20. I don't think they've had one since John Abraham.
Yeah, and I like James, as I just said, but I don't think James can play a whole game with his hand on the ground. I think James is narrow-hipped, and I think James has to play standing up. So you scheme him into your defense, and you hope that you can play him as a pass rusher from a two-point stance, which I think they will. But I would not have given up the compensation to get James because
10 seconds.
I think if you wanted to take a guy without giving it all, take it to the Marshall kid and give it to him, and that would have cost you nothing. And he's still on the board, by the way.
More with Pat Kirwan on the other side. Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, that I don't know a lot about Mike Green other than what I've read because I certainly didn't watch Marshall play. But is there a medical there, Pat? Is there something? Because and I print out the Athletics top 100. The guy from the Athletic who does a really thorough job, I think, had him 10th overall.
Yeah, I know. A lot of guys thought of him that way. He was an interesting guy. I probably wouldn't say this on the air, but he went to the Senior Bowl. On the first day of pass rush, he won 2 in a row, and he promptly left and said, I don't need to show anybody anything else. I'm not good. And it turned off a bunch of people, I can tell you.
Yep, I can see that.
And he'll always say, I was really a UVA guy that went there. But when he packed up and left, he infuriated people from the Senior Bowl. But it was the agent that did it more than the kid. That's why I wouldn't say it. But the agent said, "Oh, we don't need to show these guys anything else. That's enough. We're a first rounder." And of course, I think he's another guy that you really have to ask yourself, unless you're in a 3-4 front and playing him standing up, and there's plenty of teams doing that. He's kind of half limited of how you're going to play him. And then the second part was really the first part, like you're leaving now because. And it was one thing to say, he pulled a hamstring, which is the old favorite answer. But to say things like, No, we just showed you enough. We're good. We're first rounder. Some guys would just in spite not take him.
Mm-hmm. Well, but that's. Do you like football? I mean, if he did that, how much does he love it?
Yeah, that's right. And there's this growing sentiment more and more that less and less guys love football, and I don't think that's true. I think it's always been like this. I think now we have guys that, and we can blame NIL. We can do whatever we want, but at the end of the day, don't ever send out a signal that you are going to control everything. Shedeur Sanders.
Well, a lot of people are giving Jackson Dart's agent and/or Dart a lot of credit. The difference between how Dart handled the offseason versus Sanders. Dart went to the Senior Bowl. Dart threw every single time he was asked. And apparently, when Dart did the individual workouts for teams, he said to the teams, "What do you want me to show you?"
Yeah. Well, and it's the kid himself. And I talked to Lane Kiffin a lot. And Lano and I he was a kid when I was working there. But Lane told me, and I know he told every team that came through, that Jackson recruited every one of those transfers.
Yep.
And they loved that. They loved that this guy was building the team. Yeah, it was selfish motivation and he wanted to have a better team. But the players, when you asked them, hey, tell me about Jackson Dart, every one of them was, yeah, Jackson built the team. He called me like crazy, told me why I had to come. And I think a lot of guys like that kind of leadership. Because in free agency, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to try to get guys to come.
And, it's one thing if it was all offensive players. If Jackson Dart was all excited about bringing a lineman or a receiver to make him better, if you know what I mean. Yeah. When you hear the defensive guys saying he was calling them, then I'm into the whole team. I'm into the whole piece of this, not just what's important to me.
Well, I know you listened, I believe, to the Princely, and he was the strongest of them all about the guy. So, yeah.
And then little things, and this is the old David Moulton taking 3 seconds of truth. But to me, when Dallas drafted Booker, and Booker was sprinting down the hallway, jumping up and down, and then did his interview with Jamie Erdahl, and he is still as excited. I'm like, I want that guy on my team.
Yes. And Tyler, when he came and sat with us, he acknowledged and thanked Bergen Catholic, from the state of David Moulton. And then he thanked, and I had a nice long talk with him about going to IMG as a kid. He was a sophomore in high school, and he left Bergen and went to IMG with Jihad Campbell, who's another Jersey boy. And it was just impressive to hear how plus he's an old-fashioned Dallas.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Chris Perkins will join us at the top of the hour. We'll talk about the Dolphins' selection of Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. And Miami still has 9 other picks today and tomorrow. Chris Perkins at the top of the hour. But our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, moving the chains, weekday afternoons 3 to 7. He, along with Jim Miller, Rick Neuheisel, doing the draft once again for NFL Radio, rounds 2 and 3 tonight, coverage beginning at 7 Eastern. Can we kind of go a couple of specific picks here with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Carolina goes Tet McMillan, first wide receiver taken over both tight ends and or any defensive pass rushers. Your thoughts on Carolina's pick?
Well, I thought it was a little early, but it doesn't matter to me. They wanted him. Look, who's the head coach? He's the guy that came from Tampa Bay. Who did he have in Tampa Bay? Mike Evans. This guy, and Jim Miller said it more than I did, McMillan reminded him so much of Mike Evans. And I think the head coach realized I need an outside big threat like that. And that's what made things work with Mike Evans. And I think he thinks he got the next Mike Evans.
I liked the Ibuka pick by Tampa Bay. I thought if they were going to go receiver with who was there, that's who I talked about on Thursday. I was surprised, however, that they didn't go Campbell, the linebacker there. Your thoughts on Tampa and Ibuka and not going defense for Todd Bowles?
I was as surprised as you were. I was, in my mind, convinced they'd take defense. I like Ibuka, no criticism of him, but I would have. And so when they paid their second receiver there, coming off his injury, I said, okay, Godwin, excuse me, thank you. I said they'll skip the receiver now because they just locked up Godwin, and Evans is still the same guy he always was. I thought for sure they'd play defense with the pick, and they had really good defensive players on the board, starting with the next pick in the draft by Denver, who a lot of people thought would take a running back. But today, Barron, I thought that utility player for a guy like Todd Bowles, who likes to do all kinds of crazy stuff with his defense, I thought Barron was the perfect fit. And after Lane Kiffin told me that guy played 7 different positions at Texas, I said, there's no way. And then they took the receiver. What are you going to do with him? Play him outside? Because I think, I was surprised by the pick. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Since you mentioned Barron, he went next and he went to Denver. Listen, he's a very good player. I'm very surprised the Broncos did not take an offensive skill player of some kind. But your thoughts on Denver at 20 taking Barron, because they already got arguably the best corner in the league on the other side.
Right. And, the one thing that Bill Walsh taught me, and I think Parcells, who's a huge influence on the head coach, Sean Payton, is when you know you're good, and now Denver thinks they're good, and they probably are, build your nickel defense. That's all Coach Walsh would say to me when we were doing our video series together. And so you get a guy like this, you start talking about how much impact he could have. So they're going to build a defense. But I think the 3 of us last week thought they would take Hampton, the running back, who went just a few picks later to the Chargers, we should have seen that coming. Maybe they didn't even think Hampton would be there, but they had him fall right in their lap, which was great for those guys as they get ready. And you start thinking about, what does it say about Najee Harris? Well, I always say to the guys when I was on the show, good fellas, he did a 1-year deal. What does the 1-year deal tell you? They don't really think he's their guy, but they needed to get one in case they missed on a running back. So Hampton's their new man. And we all know that head coach Harbaugh, Jimmy Harbaugh, wants to run the ball all the time. And so does his OC.
The Colts wanted a tight end. I applaud their patience because the way the draft was going, they certainly could have tried to move up, whether it was with the Jets, whether it was with Carolina. There were a slew of teams that we thought wanted to move down, and the Colts wanted to get a tight end. I was impressed with their patience to be able to sit there, and they end up with the guy they want at 14.
Yep, that's a really good thing, and patience is really a gutsy thing. As I say, Dick Haley taught me about patience. Now, the question I'd ask, which we'll never get an answer, if Warren was gone, would they have taken Loveland? And I think they would have. They're different in the sense of what flavor do you like, vanilla or chocolate. One guy's going to be closer to the tackle and lining up, that being Warren. That's the guy they got. But he's not limited to that. He can get out in the slot. He does all the time. Loveland's the guy that is going to be all over the place, and he was gone. Chicago took him. That should help the quarterback in Chicago. But I love the pick for Indianapolis, and I thought he would be gone way before this. So tremendous pick without moving.
Did you think that teams stole who the team picking next wanted? Like, I thought the Niners wanted to go offensive tackle, but when the top 3 tackles went 4, 7, and 9, that the Niners went, damn, and took the best defensive lineman they could find. I thought Dallas, when they took Booker, the Dolphins went, damn. Now, they took a guy we like, okay, but I thought they wanted Booker more. I'm just curious whether or not, I thought when Baltimore took Malachi Starks that the Lions went, damn, picking right after him. I mean, were there picks in which you thought, oh, they just screwed so-and-so?
Yeah, I do. Let me start with Malachi. It's funny, when we did the fan mock draft, they took Malachi Starks at Baltimore at 27. And I said to Jim afterwards, and I said on the air to all those guys and ladies who picked, I said, You guys misplayed Malachi Starks. He's going to go higher than that. And weren't they right? Right on a target. But to your point, David, here's the one I think, and you didn't bring it up yet. I'm sure you're thinking about it. When the Giants moved back in to get Jackson Dart, I think they knew they had to get ahead of the Rams, who I believe would have taken Jackson Dart. And they didn't want to wait and let the Rams take him. So what happened? As soon as the Giants took Jackson Dart, 30 seconds later, the Rams moved out of the first round. So
and got a king's ransom for it, too.
Yeah.
Very good job by the Rams, who have always traded picks away, now acquire picks. I thought it was a great move by the Rams to do that. Speaking of Starks, we, for the longest time on this show, have just looked at the Ravens and marveled at how they can sit there in the draft and great players fall to them. When you look at players that fell to teams, I look at the Ravens and the Eagles this year again as going, damn, they just sat there and picked up really good players that fell into their lap best on the board. When you think of best on the board that fell into someone's lap, who do you look at?
Well, certainly Malachi Starks. And to the Baltimore Ravens, who love defense, to get a guy like that without moving is awesome. But I'll tell you the other one, and I laughed a little bit because I thought Kansas City getting Josh Simmons, who I think when healthy might be the best tackle in the draft, is certainly going to be in a debate about that. For them to be at 31 and then go to 32 and pick up a fifth-round pick and still get Josh Simmons, who we talked about on Wednesday, I thought that was a great one. And Jihad Campbell, to your point, Mark, about getting him at 31, I laughed a little bit. Why are you swapping spots? Who in the second round was going to give up something to go get Jihad Campbell? I love the guy, but it was funny that they were protecting the spot.
You see, Pat, I think they were showing off a little bit because they have 21 picks. Between this year and next year's draft, they have 21 picks. And Howie knows, I don't have spots for these guys. So I think he just said, I'm going to show off a little bit here. I also thought that the Broncos at 20 stole who Green Bay at 23 wanted when they took the corner Barron, okay, because Pittsburgh wasn't taking a corner and the Chargers weren't taking a corner. So I thought the Packers wanted Barron, okay, and the Broncos stole him from them. What did you think then of the Packers' choice of Golden, the wide receiver?
Well, I think Mark Murphy, the retiring president, referenced the historical reality that they don't take receivers in the first round. And he loved talking about it and got the crowd all in an uproar. They got a speed player. We all know what Golden is in Green Bay. And it was clear to me watching the fans, they thought that was the guy they all wanted. And they have a love affair with the team no matter what they do. But I know from talking to a lot of Packer fans on the show over the last month, they wanted a receiver. They're tired of Christian, the kid out of Tampa, always being injured. So that's who they wanted, and that's who they got. And again, a patient pick. I think most of us, not me in particular, but Golden was going to go earlier than he did. So for them to stay at 23 and get him, pretty good for them. I'll say this about Pittsburgh. I think the blessing in disguise is that they were basically relegated to taking Derek Harmon, who they desperately need. Ogunjobi's gone. The captain of the team is 100 years old. They need Derek Harmon right away in the rotation.
All right, Cleveland with 2 picks out of the first 4 here in the second round. Do they begin the second round by taking Shadur Sanders, in your opinion?
Yeah, or Milroe. Shadur, I feel bad for Shadur in that this is a hard time. Thank goodness he wasn't there. And maybe at the end of the day, his father knew this is not a good idea to send him to this thing. It's too volatile, and he could be sitting there alone. Milroe not only came, he always knew he was not a first-round pick because he had said to a friend of mine, it doesn't matter if I go in the first or second, I'm staying. Now, we know that a lot of guys leave this morning early if they don't get picked in the first round. He already acknowledged it might be second and I'm staying. So I hope he doesn't change his mind. I think there's a lot of merit for him by sitting here now that Sanders is still in the round. And you tell me, guys, when he gets picked and he's having his day, people are going to realize why Milroe is an interesting candidate. You don't have to play him right away. And if he goes to Cleveland, he's going to be tutored by Flacco, which I think is perfect for him. But if Cleveland doesn't take him and they take Shedeur Sanders, would I be shocked if Milroe's a Las Vegas Raider? Nope, I would not.
Okay, here's our armchair analysis. If you're Cleveland with picks 33 and 36, Houston now's at 34 because of the trade with the Giants. We don't think Houston will trade out again. That when they made the trade with the Giants, they made it targeting a group of guys that they thought would be there at 34. But Tennessee at 35 could trade out. Okay, so therefore we think if you're the Browns and you're thinking of taking a quarterback, you got to take the quarterback at 33 and not get cute, and then take the best player on your board at 36.
I agree 100% with that. And the beauty of the overnight, right? These were never things I had to deal with. It was when I was in that room where we just turned the page, go to round two. This overnight's like 17 or 18 hours to restack your board. And I promise you, Cleveland's got maybe 10, 15 phone calls from spot 33. And I hope they don't give it away. You need to take quarterback, take one here, and then you can handle whatever falls to you at 36. I'm with you 100%, David.
Do guys even leave the team headquarters? Like if you were working for the Jets right now with the way this draft's going, are the GMs, the scouts, everybody that's there, are they leaving for 3 days? Do they go home, or are they basically locked in there for the next couple of days?
Oh, it's a great question. The scouts go back to the hotel, and the coaches go home. The GM and the head coach and the college scouting director, they're probably going to sit around till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then they'll come back in. Now, if they're working on a trade, they can be in by 9 o'clock Eastern time, but most of them will come in around 10, 10:30. Restacking the board isn't that hard now because you're looking at your board and there's 32 blanks up on the board, and you're looking at it and you're realizing, okay, I love the second round, and I think I love the second round. So they'll get excited about that. They'll make a couple calls trying to get up to a spot or two, and Cleveland will get all the calls because they have two, and they're going to try to beg for 33. I don't think they'll give it away. They shouldn't. But again, if Milroe goes before Shedeur Sanders, what is that telling us about the perception? And it's not the perception of one or two teams. Dion's going to have to look at this and realize my entire league didn't think he was good enough. The kid will have a chip.
Got about 30 seconds. All right. Do you think Jackson Dart is good enough, or did the Giants do this out of desperation and they're wasting their time?
I think he's good enough. I've liked him. I've said it on this show many times. I thought he was the second best quarterback. He doesn't have to play right away. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the Georgia game. That's all you have to do, and you'll know what you're getting in Jackson Dart.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons 3 to 7. He and his co-host Jim Miller, along with Rick Neuheisel and a cast of characters, they are hosting the NFL Draft live from Green Bay. Rounds 2 and 3 tonight begin at 7 Eastern, and then he'll wrap things up Saturday afternoon before heading back to the 239. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, you can't fake fresh. Pat, thanks so much. Grab a coffee and a nap, and have a good weekend.
Very good. Thanks, fellas. Enjoyed it.
Pat Kirwan once again here on Miller and Moulton. Chris Perkins to talk the Dolphins draft next.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust.
Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. American Paint Supplies. For nearly 30 years is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, Tadalafil, and Viagra, Sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American made at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Believe it or not, that probably worked out better.
Yeah.
Because we got the long segment too. So
right. Well, Canada Relief, I wouldn't, well, yeah, back-to-back years so far, because he didn't do a good job his first 2 years, in my opinion. I mean, he needs Thibodeau to really deliver for him, because you have picks 5 and 7 in your first draft, and right now you've got a at 5 and a bust at 7. Not only that, Breece Hall was on the board when you were picking in the second round.
That, like magic, he's there.
Look at that, baby. I
That's
had
awesome.
to grab a little cup of coffee here.
I
man.
understand. I understand. Hey, all good.
You got 2.5 minutes if you need it.
That's that's the producer part of me that panics when I don't see guests.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. How are you guys doing? What'd you think?
I'm good with it. We have Pat Kirwan on a lot, who used to be an NFL exec, and he was much higher on the guy that the Dolphins got than he was on Graham. He loves him.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought the guy the Dolphins really wanted, the Cowboys took right before them, and that this was a good pick, but that they would have preferred Booker. But they had such a need. You could argue, Chris, biggest need on the roster is defensive tackle.
Right. I agree. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Right? I mean,
Yep.
hopefully.
Totally.
Hopefully.
You know, we'll see, or it could be his last draft.
Yeah, I mean, Greer usually does good in the first round. Well, he does good enough in the first round, because you could say instead of Jalen Waddle, they should have taken Penei Sewell, the right tackle for Detroit, and then you'd be set. But Waddle's okay. They do okay in the first round. It's the second and third, which is where you build the team, is where Greer starts to fall off a little bit.
No doubt. I also think they've overpaid people.
Yeah, yes. That's definitely true.
Don't think he's managed the cap well.
Yeah. And by the way, I have not showered. I'm a dirty man, but I've got my coffee, so I figure I'm good enough.
Hey, most of this is radio, and if people are worried about how we look at 9 a.m. on Twitch and YouTube, you know what? That's on them.
Right. I agree.
Chris, you know what the two hosts you're talking to look like even when showered, so you're in good shape.
It's funny. Almost along those lines, as I know we're on the clock here. Last night, you know how the guys tweet the picks in advance? Just the backlash against that is so funny to watch. And I understand how people don't like it, but it's like, dude, get off of Twitter then. Just get off of social media. Help yourself out.
Totally.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And it is the bonus hour on this Football Friday, where we're looking back at round 1 and now looking ahead to rounds 2 and 3. And we'll specifically do so with the Dolphins in mind, because Chris Perkins is kind enough to join us once again. And he writes about the Dolphins for the Sun Sentinel, sunsentinel.com. Follow Chris on X at Chris Perk, ChrisPerk. Chris, David, and Mark, good morning. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Oh, guys, I'm good, man. I think that the Dolphins made a good selection last night. We'll flesh that out, but I'm encouraged right now.
As am I, and part of it is, we just had Pat Kirwan on, and Pat's worked in the league for a long time and does a national show. He had been telling us for weeks that he liked Kenneth Grant more than he liked Mason Graham, the two Michigan guys, and Graham obviously went 5th overall, so he was high on Grant. People he talked to, scouts in the league, were high on Grant. They needed a run stuffer. We all know Miami needs to become a more physical team at the point of attack, and it's hard to argue that they are not a more physical team at the point of attack now, Chris.
I agree, Mark. Look, I think that the only thing that you could be unhappy with is maybe the position, that if you would have preferred a cornerback, and we think that Will Johnson slid because of the injury history. Jahdae Barron from Texas was your other option. Really what I thought was, if you didn't go with one of the corners, you might be overdrafting whoever you take, whether it was one of the safeties, right? Malachi Starks of Georgia and Nicky Minwari of South Carolina, who still hasn't been picked. Whether it was Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon, Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. They ended up obviously going with Kenneth Grant, the D tackle, nose tackle from Michigan. I like the pick. He's a run stuffer. He brings attitude. He brings toughness. Those are 3 things that the Dolphins needed. You guys know the Dolphins had the number 10 defense overall last year, number 9 against the run. But you get the attitude, you get the toughness. It's not a statistical need. It's a position need and a toughness, a characteristic, a trait need. And that's the other thing that I like. You serve yourself in a couple of ways here.
What early feedback have you gotten from Dolphins Nation? Because, Chris, what the feedback we've received and observed in the last couple of months was, when we asked Dolph fan, what position do you want drafted first, they always said offensive line. Now, we could argue they had even more of a need at defensive tackle, but they wanted a guard. They wanted an offensive lineman. Do you think the guy the Dolphins really wanted, the Cowboys took right before them, Booker, the guard from Alabama?
You know, it's interesting, David. Here's what I think is that Tyler Booker is he's a one-positional guy, and I don't mean that to denigrate him. What I mean is the Dolphins usually take guard, center, guard, tackle. If they would have done that last year with Patrick Paul, the offensive tackle they took in the second round, you guys remember Laramie Tunsil, the tackle that they drafted in 2016, he started out at guard, and then he moved out to tackle. I wish that Patrick Paul could have done that last year, because you would have helped your guard problem last season. You would have gotten Patrick Paul some snaps, and you would be much further ahead in the game right now. You still would have had your backup left tackle for when Teron Armstead left. So to bring it back to Tyler Booker, he's a one-positional guy. I would prefer that if he was a guard, center, guard, tackle. You don't know if Patrick Paul is the man at left tackle. Austin Jackson has injury problems. And then if you talked about guard center, well, Andrew Meyer, the undrafted rookie from UTEP last year, right now is your backup center. So, you know, I think Tyler Booker kind of locked himself into one position, and the Dolphins kind of needed more. I think Dolphins fans like this draft pick. And when you talk about offensive line, you know, what I asked Mike McDaniel about last night was not offensive line, but the trenches. And so you did get some help in the trenches last night, because you got the defensive tackle. I would like to see him make 3 picks in the trenches of their first 5 picks. So I would like to see either two defensive linemen and an offensive lineman, or vice versa, 2 offensive linemen and a defensive lineman in their first 5 picks, which are in the first 4 rounds of the draft.
It may have been a stretch. Zabel, the guy from North Dakota State, very versatile, but that may have been a stretch at 13.
Right.
I am curious, did you hear anything when you talked to McDaniel last night? And I don't know if you talked to Greer, because we all knew that the Colts wanted a tight end.
Yeah.
And if somebody was in the market to get Tyler Warren, did the Dolphins entertain any phone calls? Was there any talk of trading down there and even trying to get a 5th out of the Colts to move up 1 to ensure they got their guy? Do you know if there was any communication about moving that pick last night?
We did talk to Chris Greer. He said that there were conversations about moving forward and backward in the first round. You know, he always says that, and I'm sure every team pretty much gets phone calls. I don't know how serious it was. I also asked Chris Greer about moving back into the first round. What was interesting last night is usually Greer and McDaniel will talk to us at the end of the first round. Last night, they talked to us shortly after they made the pick. And so I asked them, you know, are you guys thinking about trading back into the first round? And Chris Greer kind of laughed, and he goes, well, the fact that we're out here talking to you guys means this is reducing some time that we could be fielding phone calls. So I took that as a no. But I think that in the end, they were probably happy to stay at number 13. I don't know if they would have had a trade partner to trade down. I don't know that, you know, obviously, you know, Colston Loveland went earlier than we thought. Gray Zabel went earlier than we thought. I don't know if the Dolphins could have found a trade partner to move down.
Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel, sunsentinel.com. Follow Chris on X, Chris Perk, P-E-R-K. Story out today from Chris, 20 players that could be prime for the Dolphins to take in rounds 2 and 3. They have 9 picks left, right?
They do. And they have one in the second and one in the third today.
All right. Do you think they're drafting player or position?
I think they're drafting position. And because you just need so much positional help. And so, you know, they have 5 picks in the first 4 rounds. They've got 2 picks in the 4th round. Today, their picks are number 48 and number 98 overall. So that gives you 3 picks in the top 100. To me, you need to satisfy your needs with you know, fill that position more than you get the good player, because, you know, it's going to be ridiculous to say this, and you know, you've got good players. I know Jalen Ramsey is going to be traded. I know Tyreek Hill is a knucklehead. I know you just lost Teron Armstead at left tackle, Calais Campbell at defensive tackle. But I think you have good players, good enough players, definitely on offense, fill the position as opposed to, you know, getting that flashy player. After you fill the position, you know, then you're going to be a better team. You know, if you were just doing the BPA thing, yeah, you go for Tyler Warren. But you're a better team in this specific year for the Dolphins by filling your needs, not by collecting talent, if that makes sense.
Well, and the needs are plentiful. I'm with you, Chris. They've got to get tougher in the trenches.
Yeah.
They need an offensive lineman. They need a defensive lineman. But the one area that's plentiful, and the only thing, and it is kind of the trenches, Chris, this is a year of the edge rusher. There was talk that there could be 20 edge guys going in the first 3 rounds. I don't know if it's a glaring need for the Dolphins, but they've been banged up at the edge. Those guys haven't stayed healthy. So do you, if you were to deviate from what you're talking about, would you be comfortable today if they went after one of the good edge guys if something fell in their lap?
I wouldn't be mad at them because edge rusher is a playmaking position. And so if you're going to reach, you know, and this is the thing that, you know, I said about tight end. Now, Tyler Warren is supposedly a generational tight end, like another Brock Bowers type, you know, not the same style, but another type. However, I think, yes, your need at edge rusher. Look, there is no assurance that Chop Robinson is going to continue his development from the second half of the season. First half of the season, he wasn't much. Second half, he caught fire. There's no guarantee he does that. There's no guarantee Chubb Robinson, that Bradley Chubb reaches 100%. No guarantee Jalen Phillips reaches 100%. Plus, Jalen Phillips is playing his 5th-year option. He might not be here next year. So to your point, Mark, yeah, if you're going to break, you know, do the BPA thing, best player available, yeah, I would do that for an edge rusher because it's an impactful position and it could be a position of need. You got to keep your fingers crossed that Chop continues to develop and Chubb and Phillips stay healthy. I wouldn't be mad at him for going after an edge rusher.
Got about a minute and a half left. Is there anything to the whispers that have become public in the last 2 weeks that a lot of the veterans on the team don't like their head coach, and that's why some of the veterans have said, get me the hell out of here? Is there anything to this?
I don't know if there's anything to this, but I will say this, that, you know, I had a column written before right after the season, really. And the column was that the Dolphins better make a Super Bowl run, have a plan to make a Super Bowl run in 2026, because otherwise all you're doing in 2025 and 2026 is spinning your wheels until you can get to a rebuild in 2027. And in that column, which I didn't publish, unfortunately, I said that the prime 2 guys are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, that if they find out that this team isn't planning on making a Super Bowl run, they're both 30 years old. They're not going to want to stick around here for 2 years while this team, gets to a place where it can comfortably do a tear down and go into a rebuild. They're going to demand a trade. I think that might be part of it. That it's, I think the veteran players might look at this as a wasted opportunity. That Mike McDaniel was nice to us, but he never pushed us. We never reached our full potential. And I think when you look back on your career, you're going to look back at 2023 specifically and say, if we'd have had a coach who pushed us, we could have achieved better things. I think that might be what's behind any veteran discontent.
10 seconds. This draft's loaded with running backs. There's a good chance Dolphins say at 98 that the highest ranked guy on the board's a running back. Would that be a wasted pick?
I don't think they go for a running back because they've taken them the last 2 drafts in Devon Achane and Jalen Wright. That's my thinking.
Chris Perkins, sunsentinel.com. Follow him on X at Chris Perk, ChrisPerk. Chris, thanks for getting up and doing this with us. Have a great weekend and continue your fine work.
All right, let's hope Chris Greer has a good day today. 2nd and 3rd rounds are usually where these Dolphins drafts fall apart for him. Thanks, guys.
No doubt we can look at the history of the Miami Dolphins 2nd-round picks and all shake our heads because it has been a crapshoot at best of what they've done in the 2nd round. And they have to hit. I mean, they have to hit with these picks. We'll talk about what Chris said next, Miller and Moulton.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, Sonny, Chris is terrific.
Couple of fun facts here I've got for you. Brady Henderson covers the Seahawks.
Okay.
When he's interviewing Zabel on the conference call after he's drafted, I don't know if you saw this. All-time answer from Gray Zabel asked on our conference call. Asked what he's about to do now that the Seahawks have taken him 18th overall. He said, "Man, I'm probably going to start diving into these bush lights." That's one. And the other one I saw here that's pretty fun. Oh, crap. Now I can't find it. I got to get better at that. But with the
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour in our bonus hour. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Our last hour has been Pat Kirwan and Chris Perkins. 3 segments in a row with 2 pretty knowledgeable, well-spoken guests talking football and then the Dolphins specifically. If you missed it, after the show, go to millerandmoulton.com and download what you missed. Got a few poll questions today, all related to the draft. Your thoughts on the Jags trade from the Jags perspective. Okay, giving up what they gave up to move up the 3 spots for Travis Hunter. And Mark, you and I are in the minority on this one, aren't we?
Way in the minority. You and I both voted D/F.
For today.
Like I said to Pat, for this to be a good to great pick for Jacksonville, he needs to go to Canton. And I'm not messing around with that. You go up to 2. He's got to deliver in a big way.
And about half our audience thinks the Jags get an A.
Right. And 70% of our audience give him a grade of an A or a B.
Wow. Which is a lot different than the national narrative. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X.
I liked this Gray Zabel kid coming into the draft. He was very versatile. I thought that if he was there for the Lions, who I pay a little bit more attention to than others, that the Lions should grab him. David said there's no way he's going to be there when the Lions pick at 28 or wherever the hell they were.
Mm-hmm.
He was right. He went far ahead of that to Seattle. On the conference call with the beat writers for the Seahawks, he was asked what he's about to do now that the Seahawks have taken him 18th overall. His response, "Man, I'm probably going to start diving into these bush lights." I love Gray Zabel. The other little nugget I found during the break, David, is that there were 3 Georgia Bulldogs taken in the first round.
Yep, 4 Buckeyes, 3 Dogs.
But with the 3 Dogs, that makes 7 players from their national championship team in 2022 that were taken in the first round at 6 different positions.
So what are you trying to make the point that they were really good?
Right. They were.
Especially on one side of the ball, although they had Brock Bowers on the other, but the defense was a little loaded. Yeah.
Yes, it was. So was Michigan's from, if you look at Michigan and all the players that went in the first round yesterday as well.
Yep.
And the number of Wolverines that have gone on the Thursday draft night here in the past couple of years.
Well, also SEC with 15, Big Ten with 11. First time that 2 conferences had double-digit selections. Now, you could argue, look at the size of the conferences now. So, anybody from USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. Okay, and what do we have? 2 Oregon players?
Yeah, 2 Oregon, no UCLA, no Washington,
right. Well,
no USC. I mean,
but that would have reduced the number from 11 to 9 in the not so, distant past, and add up the Oklahoma and Texas players. No one from Oklahoma. How many from Texas?
3.
Okay, so 15 becomes 12 a little over a year ago also. But, I mean, it does further Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey's argument when they meet in Dallas every other month about how many bids we should get. Excuse me, 26 of the 32 first-round picks came from our leagues. Okay, take the bids we give you and shut up.
And it won't be that different today. It won't be as high. But as I'm just looking down the list of available players, there's a bunch of Buckeyes that are going to get their names chosen today.
Well, and also think about the top of the draft. I mean, ACC went first. Big 12 went second. You know, a group of 5 player went sixth. Okay, so you can still have an elite talent at the top of the draft, but boy, once you pretty much got to 10, you were just going SEC or Big 10, which does go back to the Miller and Moulton theory of how we would scout and draft. There'd be about 20 teams worth of players that we'd look at. And if we missed some other guys, don't know what to tell you. We played the percentages. We went to where the talent is.
And the talent that practices against talent. I mean, it's the one thing that's vastly different between Saturdays and Sundays is how much hitting they do during the week at the college level. And it's what Saban's always talked about with his Alabama teams of what they had to do in practice to earn a spot, let alone to play.
Cleveland picking 33 and 36 today. That's the first and fourth picks of the second round. Bears picking 39th and 41st. That's the 7th and 9th picks of the second round. The teams in between Cleveland's 2 picks, Houston's at 34, remember the trade with the Giants, and Tennessee's at 35. I'm on record as saying Jalen Milroe will go before Shedeur Sanders. In fact, I'll throw some check. If you can get me odds on pick 33, I'll go Jalen Milroe right now.
Wow. Look at you.
Yep.
All the over-under bets we did on baseball, I've got to re-up in the account. We got to wait until October.
I know.
Until we find out that we lost more bets, for crying out loud.
I know. We're either going to have a phenomenal September 30th or we need to go dig and find some money September 30th.
Yeah, it's probably the latter because you know where I get in trouble. We had our basketball system. We did just fine. Won a little bit of money here, not a ton. And then something like the Masters happens. Right. And I start throwing out 5, 6, 7 bets, 2 on Thursday, 3 more on Sunday. And all of a sudden I look and I'm like, what do you mean there's only $14 in the account? What the hell happened?
And you wouldn't go with my pick of Rory because you're against him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you play the percentages. Hey, hasn't won it before. Until he does, I'm not picking him. And I'm like, yeah, but this is the year. You're like, we'll see. Sidebar, a story that I think is not going to get talked about at all in the state of Florida. And if so, might get talked about for 4 minutes sometime next week. But the Orlando Sentinel published a story late yesterday. This Orlando Dreamers baseball idea. The Orlando Dreamers yesterday said, we have $1.5 billion set aside to purchase a team, and we have $1 billion set aside to help pay for the stadium for the team. That's real money.
Yes, it is.
And they said, we got all the documents here, all lined up, all signed. Okay. So the Orlando Dreamers came out and said, we have $2.5 billion. I mean, the Rays, if they went on the market, Stu would ask for $2 billion, but the Rays on the open market, I believe their value's around 1.25. And Orlando's sitting 50, 60, 70 miles away going, we got $1.5 billion for you if you're interested.
I wonder if Major League Baseball right now would endorse a sale of a team for less than what they're going to get for an expansion franchise.
Mark, the problem is there's only been one or two baseball teams that have ever sold for $2 billion. I mean, the Twins are on the market. Twins can't get more than 1.7. They've been asking, they can't. Okay, Rays can't get $2 billion on the open market. I mean, it's funny, the expansion franchise. We talked about this. If I was running things in Nashville, I'd buy a current team before I'd get an expansion team. I'd say $500 to $700 million bucks.
And you get all the resources that go along with it.
Right. And I'd get the players.
They've spent decades drafting players and building up a system and all of those things. No, I'm with you. I wonder, it's crazy when you look at what the Phoenix Suns went for.
Right.
And that a baseball team can't get half of that. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap. It's how we finish the week, and it's next.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Nix, first off, go listen to the tape yesterday. When I put the question up for Leonard Skinner and for the Allman Brothers, I flat out said Leonard Skinner was going to win, okay? Wasn't negative about it. Said they were going to win yesterday. Knew it. You want to come at me with all the negative shit, go right ahead. Have a ball. You're smarter than me. You do better. Get your own goddamn show, okay? If you're that smart and that knowledgeable, go do it. I've been doing this for 20 years. And you are, in the chat room, the most negative human I've ever seen. You come at Ambien every day. You think you're cute. You come at everybody. Basketball sucks. This sucks. That sucks. I don't know why the hell you listen. I really don't. But if you want to attack me, get what I say right. Get what I say right. That's all I ask. Mother of pearl. Nice. Hey, I don't mind you guys coming at me with information. Just get what I say right. You can attack me all day long. I take it in there. I usually don't even respond to the Twitch chat room. But I find it amazing how negative some people can be. For the most part, you guys have a fun time in there. You're doing your own thing, and I really don't pay attention because I got other things to pay attention about and pay attention to. And I don't think he's a kid. I think he's a grown man. In fact, I think all of you are. I think Ambient's young, but he's a grown man. Michael, I got to be honest with you. I was at the oyster joint next to Little Sicily with my mother-in-law and my wife who love oysters. And there was part of me that wanted to just walk next door and knock down a pie. It's coming. I'm very excited to eat Little Sicily pizza. Very excited. Because we love that oyster place next door. I'm there every other week. One of my favorite little spots down here. Well, think like one, act like one. You know, I get it. But you're playing pickleball, Mike, and that's not a kid's sport.
What, Agassi in Naples this weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, our final segment of the week. Thanks so much for being with us. If you missed anything this week, go to millerandmoulton.com. Thought we had a pretty good week, all things considered. Some pretty good draft prep and draft recap today, if we do say so ourselves. And normally, we think but we think this week we're a little better than So, millerandmoulton.com.
With everything going on sports-wise this weekend, and I know you're a draft geek. I mean, you geek out on the draft more than maybe anything else.
Geek.
You used to be a college recruiting geek. You got rid of that. It's just too damn hard anymore.
Yes.
It really is. So, NHL playoffs tonight. NBA playoffs tonight and tomorrow. Like tomorrow, I don't worry about so much because the draft's during the day and you can do what you want with rounds 4 through 7. Are you watching the draft tonight or are you watching sports tonight?
I'm watching the draft. Like last night, I we were 2 periods into the Panthers Lightning when the draft started. So I mean, I didn't miss much of the Lightning Panthers. I only have one TV. I don't have it set up like Mark with 3 TVs. So I got to make a commitment.
Right.
I was committed to the hockey last night, and I was falling back to the draft during commercial breaks.
David actually sent me a text. Are you watching the hockey right now? I'm like, yeah, I'm watching the hockey right now. Of course I'm watching the hockey right now.
Well, because, let's face it, sometimes we're just idiots and we're wrong. And sometimes we actually sound like we kind of know what we're talking about. And my biggest bone of contention in this series was I thought the Lightning were going to lose because they're going to lose important faceoffs and it's going to lead to pucks in the back of the net. And it happened at a key time at the end of the first period in game one. And sure enough, first goal last night, Barkov wins the faceoff clean, pass over to the D, goal. Boom. Just like that. And I just text Mark, are we watching?
And I'll tell you what, the status now, I think Tampa's done. I don't think they're going to win 4-5. If they could have somehow snuck out last night and they had so many chances to do so, we don't know what the status. I mean, Barkov left the game.
Right.
I don't think he's done for the series, but taking, Barkov from 100% to 70%, does that affect him on draws? He's their best faceoff guy.
Well, and also he's completely neutralized Kucherov. So even if they could just limit his effectiveness, it maybe gets Kuch going. Also, I will say this, Seth Jones played the best game of his life last night. And, they played the first two games this series without Ekblad, and Seth Jones was asked to do heavy minutes these first two games. I thought Seth was terrific last night, and he has not played in games of this significance very often.
Braden Point will have nightmares for a long time about last night.
God.
A long time. He's a goal scorer. Yeah. He's a really good, if not great player. And he spit the bit last night, man. He had so many chances and couldn't. Getzel had another great chance. I mean, he's your guy in the playoffs that scores goals, and they had the puck on the stick of the guys that do it and couldn't get it done last night, David.
And Bob's been a rock. And we think it's over. It's not that Tampa Bay can't come back and win some games, but they're not going to win 4 out of 5.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was the day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Mention Miller and Moulton for 10% off your services. Locations in Bonita Springs and Naples. Game Day Men's Health. We start today in 1719. Robinson Crusoe was published. It's regarded as the first English novel. Freud opens his first practice today in Vienna in 1886.
Wonder what he charged. Wait a minute, to the media? What do you mean opens the practice? What are we talking?
Today in 1898, the U.S. responded to Spain declaring war on us by saying, we're in. We declared war on Spain today. Today in 1901, a couple of things happened. 1901, David. First off, the Detroit Tigers played their first ever game. They were down 13-4 going to the bottom of the ninth. They would score 10 runs in the bottom of the ninth to win the game, the first ever game played in Detroit.
Wow.
Right?
That's remarkable.
The other thing that happened in 1901 is that New York becomes the first state to require license plates on cars. Using the owner's initials instead of numbers, motorists must make their own plates and did so with a variety of materials. Chuck Cooper becomes the first African-American to be drafted into the NBA today in 1950. He was drafted by the Boston Celtics. Yes, Toronto, it can be done. You did it today in 64, beating the Red Wings in Game 7 to finish a three-peat for Toronto. Today in 1974, the NFL adopts sudden death playoffs.
They adopted a few things on this day.
Yep.
For the 74 season. First off, they adopted, we're going to play overtime in the regular season. We're going to play a full quarter. Then if the game is tied, it's a tie. Obviously, there was nothing about getting the ball first and what, no. The other thing that they did, Mark.
Move the goalposts.
Right. If you remember in the Dolphins' perfect season, you need a little luck. Redskins had the ball inside the 10, maybe even inside the 5. Kilmer has a wide open receiver in the back of the end zone. His pass hits the upright. never gets to him. Obviously, Washington never scores. The other thing they did, Mark, was supposedly they introduced the whole 5-yard illegal chuck into the NFL today as well.
Today in 76, Rick Monday became an American hero. Things weren't going well in the mid-70s, kind of like now in certain ways. But two people tried to run onto the field and set a U.S. flag on fire.
Right.
Rick
Dodger
Monday
Stadium.
tackled them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Picked up the flag and carried it away.
And literally, how much, I don't know if it changed his baseball career, but his persona was forever changed because of that.
Totally. Not on my watch.
Right. Today in 1987, the Joshua Tree, U2's 5th album, hits #1 in America. Drew Bledsoe, the first pick today in the 93 draft. Matthew Stafford, the first pick in the 09 draft. Eric Fisher, the first pick by the Chiefs in the 2013 draft from Central Michigan.
Hello.
And Kyler Murray went first overall in the 2019 draft. Marconi, big in radio. Edward R. Murrow, big in broadcasting. Ella Fitzgerald, big voice. Albert King, big in blues. And big man Meadowlark Lemon from the Globetrotters would have all celebrated birthdays today. Al Pacino is 85. Adam Silver is 62. Hank Azaria is 61. You better send a text after the show because Joe Buck is 56 years old today, David, as is Renee Zellweger, and Tim Duncan is 49. What did I miss?
And I believe his twin boys celebrate their birthdays tomorrow. Buck today, I believe his boys, who 7, I think.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the fact that he's really wealthy and really, really good at what he does, there's a symmetry between Buck and I. We're the same age. I'll be 56 later this year. Both been married a couple times. He has, I think, a pair of older kids. I just have one.
Right.
And then he had the twins, and I have the daughter. So a lot of symmetry, except for there's 2 or 3 more commas in his net worth than mine.
Right. He's just a little better at his job than you are at yours.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And it's not close. But
it's not, hey, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? I mean, who isn't better at their jobs than us, right? Baseball is, come on, it's a Friday. Everybody's playing.
Whoa. What did I miss? We're still in today was a day.
No, well, you haven't missed anything. That's why I just went, straight to.
Time to see life a little bit differently.
You're right.
Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I'll go fast for you, David. We go to Pinellas County for the good, where a sheriff's deputy spotted a baby owl alone in the middle of a parking lot. It was an eastern screech owlet. He took it out of the parking lot, watched it for about an hour. The parents didn't come back, so he called FWC, and they responded and took it to a rehabilitation center for care. For the bad, we come back to Fort Myers, where police said a burglary suspect tried to break into a business on Fowler Street in the early morning hours today. He didn't get in. We was spotted riding a dirt bike getting away. One suspect was caught. The other one is still on the loose. And finally, the ugly. We stay in Florida and go to Volusia County, where a teen has been arrested for trying to poison his mother.
Come on, dude.
He put Clorox in her milk. He was adopted, and he was mad at his mom. The other adopted son called the police to tell them that the 17-year-old tried to poison our mother, and I don't know what to do. He admitted to the crime, saying he was upset with his mom and didn't want to live with her. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Friday, April the 25th, here on Miller and Moulton. All right, go ahead. I'm done.
No. As Arch said in the Twitch chat room, hey, let the man do his job. Make a dadgum good point. You're right. Baseball, obviously everybody going to play. So the Rays are in San Diego. Padres 12-1 at home this year, have sold out every game. Marlins are in Seattle. Tonight, Skeens for the Pirates against Yamamoto for the Dodgers. Just saying, if you're really into baseball. The hockey tonight, all the home teams are down 2-spit. Montreal against Washington, Jersey against Carolina, Edmonton against the Kings. The games are on either TNT or TBS.
If you were to pick a home team to win, which team would you pick?
I would pick Edmonton.
I'm going to pick Montreal.
NBA tonight, the ESPN doubleheader, Celtics against Orlando early, Lakers against Minnesota late. Remember, that series is tied at a game apiece. The Indiana-Milwaukee game, yes, it's on NBA TV, but it's also on ESPNU. We've been doing this a while. I cannot recall an NBA game on ESPNU. How many professional events have ever been on ESPNU?
I'm trying to think, and I didn't watch it, but there was an NHL game this week because they ran over because of an overtime game. I
had to
thought
move it?
they put the beginning of what Colorado-Dallas maybe on you. I thought, but I didn't click over to even watch it.
By the way, Turner last night, I don't know where folks watched the Lightning Panthers game, but there's a minute to go in the game. Lightning got the goalie pulled. Lightning have the puck in possession. Turner pulls out of the game to send us to Vegas in the Wild. I have to immediately switch over to, Bally's there or whatever it's called now and be like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? NFL draft. Rounds 2 and 3 tonight. It begins at 7 Eastern, an hour earlier. 7 Eastern. There's no ABC tonight. All right. But there is, and also I believe there's no ESPN because they've got the NBA doubleheader. Isn't the draft on the Deuce tonight?
Probably.
And NFL Network.
Yeah. By the way, your prop bet I cannot find. On Hard Rock, they don't have prop bets. But they do have one. The team to draft Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland's minus 400. If you like the Raiders, they're plus 475. If you like the Saints, they're plus 600.
All right. All the people who cover the Saints have said that Shedeur Sanders is basically not on their board, that they've soured on him. How about Seattle? Okay.
Plus 1750.
Because doesn't Seattle pick like 6th in the second round?
It's a good call. That is a good call.
No, they pick a little later. My bad. But
if it's a free, the Rams are plus 1100. Just a team that wants a quarterback supposedly, and they have some picks.
I say Jalen Milrose going 33, going first pick. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Sorry for blowing up. That's on me.